Hey, welcome. Welcome to the AP World Review. Heimler here. And I just got one question to start things out. Where my Chomper Rice gang at? Hello. There they are. There they are. Yes. Oh, I saw so many invocations of the Chomper Rice to get a 5, and that's marvelous. I hope Chomper Rice comes through for you. It is so good to see you guys. I'm going to start off here with a couple of announcements. First of all, this is going to be about 90 minutes long-ish. It will be recorded. I mean, I will post this after we're done. So, you know, if somebody needs to watch it later, you can watch it later. It'll be there until the exam is over. Also, if you want to follow along, I've got notes that are linked below in the description. Make sure you get those. Make sure you download them if you want to. You know, that's the kind of thing that you're into. And other than that, the only other thing I want to mention is, you know, if you've been around here, maybe some of you, this is your first time to a Heimler review, there is a tradition. Students like me to shout out teachers, schools, etc. And that's done through the super chat. And if you submit a super chat, I will read it, but only if they are if they're submitted before 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so if you want that read, I'd love to do it. You know me, I'm your boy. I'd love to do it. But make sure they're in before 8:30 because that's when super chats actually get like literally turned off. So that's that. And I know you. I mean, the test is coming up here in a couple of days, and I know you guys are probably feeling a little anxious. A little nervous. You got the flop sweats pouring liberally from your armpits, thinking about this big, massive, honking, hairy exam coming up. So let me just try to set the mood and add some levity to our time tonight. And you know what? Since it is May the 4th, I come prepared. Yes, and I feel like we need a good Yoda joke, Star Wars Yoda joke. So. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I don't know if you are, but this is something I didn't know. Like, most people think that, you know, Yoda is just Yoda's name, that he doesn't have a last name, he doesn't have a first name, it's just Yoda. But Yoda does have a last name, actually. Lehi-hoo. See what I'm saying? Yoda. It's nailed it. Okay. That's fantastic. I think it's hilarious. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm about to go through units 1 through 5. And this is certainly not everything you've covered this year. I'm going to try to keep it to the highest level ideas. We're not going to get too bogged down into the details. Everything's broken down into big ideas, and I'll be going through those. You can walk through them with me on the notes if you want to download those. Oh, and by the way, one other thing about the super chats, you know, I am going to read them. I'll read a few of them between units, but I'll read most of them at the end after we're done with all the content because we want to study. We want to make sure that we're getting done what we need to get done. So I'm going to read most of them after I'm done with the review. So keep track. If you submit one, keep track of when, like what time you submitted it, because I'll say what time I'm reading from. That way you don't have to like hang out forever if you got other things to do. But that being said, I think we should just go ahead and jump right into it. Y'all ready? All right. Unit 1, the global tapestry. Global tapestry. Okay, so Unit 1 is, I mean, it's been a long time since you looked at Unit 1. Let me just give you the big picture of the whole unit, which is that Unit 1 emphasizes state building all across the world, and specifically, how did various states demonstrate continuity, innovation, and diversity with the states that came before them? Okay, that's the big idea. So Unit 1 is really just dropping in on each continent and seeing how y'all doing building y'all's states right now. And that's essentially what it is. The next unit, we're going to talk all about how they're connected. But for now, that's what we're doing. So that leads us straight into big idea number 1. Song China maintained and justified its rule through Confucianism and an imperial bureaucracy. Buddhism continued to shape China's society. The Song economy flourished during this period. Okay, lots of things going on in there, so let's break it down. So, When it comes to state building during the Song dynasty in China, there were basically two sources of strength for them in order to continue that building or to fuel that building. And these represent continuities with past Chinese dynasties. So the first source of strength was Confucianism, okay? At its very most basic high-level understanding, Confucianism is sort of like a hierarchical understanding of reality. So the song brings Confucianism in to help assist build their state. They brought that in from the Tang dynasty, and during the Song dynasty, Confucianism experienced a revival during this period. So part of that was the expansion of the civil service exam. Do you remember this? It's basically, a way to achieve order and stability and create a meritocracy for people who are going to work in the imperial bureaucracy. So, like, with the civil service exam, people could secure more, secure bureaucratic positions based on merit and, not birth and class. Because, if you're giving people jobs because of who their father is or mother or class they're in, they may not be qualified. But the civil service exam makes sure that everybody who's in a job actually deserves to be there. Okay, so that's Confucianism and the civil service exam. The second continuity and the second source of strength for Song state building was the imperial bureaucracy, which I just mentioned. The bureaucracy is basically a whole group of appointed officials, and their job is to carry out the empire's policies in the vast stretches of the empire. So, China was very large, and so the imperial center, the emperor made the rules, the laws, etc. But he couldn't possibly make sure that everybody in China was, falling in line with those. So the bureaucracy, tens of thousands of workers who spread out across the empire, making sure that everyone stayed in line with those laws. Okay. Now, the bureaucracy had existed for centuries, but the Song dynasty expanded it, and through this bureaucratic structure, was able to consolidate power for itself. Okay. The big idea also has something about Buddhism in it. So Buddhism was, Buddhism in China was the result of outside influence, right? So Buddhism originates in India, but once it travels into China, Buddhism itself is innovated upon. Okay, so remember I said at the beginning, we're talking about continuity and innovation. This is one of the innovations. All right. So the Chinese innovation on Buddhism was Chan Buddhism. Okay, which was Buddhism syncretized with Taoism. Okay, so Taoism, indigenous to China, Buddhism indigenous to India. When they met in China, they syncretized into something new, okay, with features of both and new things. So then Chan Buddhism spread to neighboring regions, which is what we call cultural diffusion. Do not forget that. That's all that is going to come up over and over and over again. Cultural diffusion is the key. Stick that one in your brain folds because you do not want to miss it. And find a particularly juicy part of your brain folds, one that's like got a lot of nerves firing, because that cultural diffusion, stick it there. Okay. Anyway, back to the Song Empire. Let's talk about the economy. So the economy in the Song Empire was real good, okay? And it flourished because of several innovations. Here we go, more innovations. So number one, first innovation, I think y'all know what it is. What's it going to be? What's the first innovation in Song? Yes, it is. It's champa rice. It is champa rice. You know what? You guys, I don't know where the champa rice thing started. Did I start that? I can't. Maybe. Oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. Anyway, champa rice is from the Champa Kingdom in what is modern Vietnam, and we're going to talk all about how that affected China later, but that was one of the reasons why the economy flourished. Also, the construction of the Grand Canal, which was an internal waterway that was a transportation system and became the most populous trading center in the world. That China became the most populous trading center in the world, in part because of these transportation arteries that connected major hubs. So all of this and a lot more that I'm not mentioning gives way to the commercialization of the Song economy. And that's all we're going to do for big idea number one. So let's go to big idea number two. As the Abbasid Caliphate was falling apart, new Islamic political entities emerged, and they engaged in significant expansion while creating the occasion for intellectual innovations and transfers. Oh my gosh, that's tasty. So while the Song dynasty is flourishing, they're doing real nice. The Abbasid Caliphate, the Islamic Empire, was crumbling. And as that was happening, other Islamic states began to rise in its place. For example, the Delhi Sultanate in northern India, the Mamluk Sultanate in Egypt and, into the Levant. But both of those were very, very different from the Abbasid, okay? Yes, they were Muslim, but they were Turkic Muslim. They were not, like the Abbasid, Arab and Persian, okay? But these new empires still relied on many of the same practices to govern their people as the Abbasids did. And so, taken together, these states formed a cultural region known as Dar al-Islam, which is everywhere Islam is. So as Islam is having a new moment here, not the first moment, but a sort of a new birth, Islamic states are, Islam begins to spread. Okay, how did it begin to spread? Few different reasons. Number one, military expansion. Okay, good example here is the Delhi Sultanate, and I'm going to talk more about that in the next big idea. Another way that Islam spread was through merchant activity. So during this period, there was a revival of trade on the Silk Roads, which led to much cultural diffusion. Muslim merchants carried Islam to very distant parts of the world, and that in some cases led to the conversion of peoples from all over the place, okay? For example, one of the biggest, most significant examples would be in West Africa. So, urban centers were created under the influence of Islam, and Eastern Africa as well, especially in the southern coast. These urban centers created literate officials, and Islam helped create sort of like a religious legitimacy to the state, and connected them to within the larger realm of Dar al-Islam, which again we'll talk about more in Unit 2. Now, let's talk about intellectual innovations and transfers, okay, under the heading of Islamic states. So for innovations, we could talk about mathematics. Okay, our Islamic friends created algebra for us. So if you're in an algebra class, you can thank them. They also created trigonometry. Anyway, so mathematics, they were responsible for that. Lots of forms of literature as well that were very influential. So those are some of the innovations. And then there were also transfers that came with the rise of these new Islamic states. So, Muslims in Spain translated Greek classics into Arabic, things like Aristotle, like these ancient Greek writings, translated those into Arabic. Which would later then fuel the Enlightenment, the Renaissance. And then they also transferred Indian mathematics to Europeans who were in need of mathematics, I guess. They also adopted and adapted paper-making technology from China and helped facilitate the transfer of that technology into Europe, which would later play a significant role in the spread of European ideas via the printing press. And all that is thanks to, in large part, to Muslim states. And that leads us to big idea number 3. Big idea number 3. Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam deeply influenced state building in South and Southeast Asia. Okay, so religion, kind of a big deal in, state building efforts in South Asia and Southeast Asia. I mean, it's a big deal in all places, but here we're focusing on these particular regions. So in South Asia, I mentioned we had the Delhi Sultanate, okay? That's in the north, which was an Islamic empire. Traditionally, the Indians were Hindu religiously. So when the leaders of the Delhi Sultanate established this Muslim state, some of the Hindus did convert, but a lot of them did not. And so they had to pay, a tax called the jizya in order to remain unharassed by the Muslim authorities. And a lot of the conversions that did occur were more about social mobility from lower castes. Like if you were able to, if you converted into Islam, which was the religion of those who are in power, it helped you move up in the world. Now, they were never really able to maintain an efficient bureaucracy because they, had difficulty consolidating power over the various regions of India. And that's, again, we're going to come back in Unit 2. And I keep saying that because Unit 1 and Unit 2, they cover the same time period, 1200 to 1450. So we're going to go back over a lot of this, but we're just going to emphasize the connections and that sort of thing. Anyway, now let's go to Southeast Asia, okay? I'm sorry, no, we talked about North India, North-South Asia. Now let's talk about what was going on in the South. In the South, we had the Vijayanagara Empire, and that was established as a Hindu kingdom, okay? So two brothers from the Delhi Sultanate who had converted to Islam for the very reason I said, the social mobility. They were sent to the South to claim territory for Delhi. But when they got there, they converted back to Hinduism and, established a rival empire, which is kind of rude if you ask me, but, they did what they did. So that's what's religion and how it's affecting state building in South Asia. Now let's talk about how it's going in Southeast Asia. So religion and states in Southeast Asia, it was very instrumental to build sort of their chief characteristic in the world at that point, which was as trade, as a destination for trade. Okay, so merchants introduced Hinduism and Buddhism to these places in Southeast Asia, and that became the basis for several new kingdoms, but two of which I'm going to mention. We had the Srivijaya Empire, which actually ended in 1025, so it's a little bit before the course begins, but it's important for to understand the continuity of what came before. This was a Hindu kingdom. The Srivijaya kingdom was a Hindu empire, and they prospered by taxing ships that were using their sea lanes, and they got real rich off of that. Then you've got the Majapahit kingdom, which was began in 1293. So now we are in our time period. This was a Buddhist kingdom, and they also prospered by controlling trade routes. Okay, so all that to say, there was continuity in how these religions shape societies, but there was also diversity in that those religions affected different societies in different ways. Okay, so it didn't always happen the same way. And that leads us to big idea number 4. Y'all still good? Y'all still good? I see y'all. All right, big idea number 4. Various civilizations of the Americas developed strong states. Yeah, there you go. There we go. Various civilizations of the Americas developed strong states, large urban centers, and complex belief systems. Okay, so there's 3 good examples here. Excuse me. We're going to look at the Cahokia, the Mexica, and the Inca. I shouldn't say that. We don't have time. We'll focus on one of them. But those are good examples of how Cahokia in North America, the Mexica in Central America, and the Inca in South America. But let's just focus on the Mexica, later to be known as the Aztecs. Okay, so the Aztecs demonstrated continuity in state building with earlier American states, most notably the Maya and their empire. So they built this magnificent capital city, Tenochtitlan, in which they built these massive monumental ziggurats and marketplaces, and the population of that capital city was like something like 200,000 people. Like it was big, and so one of the most significant features of state building for the Aztecs was the tribute system. So it's important to know, listen to this, point your ear holes this way. It's important to know that the Aztec Empire was a decentralized state, okay? Unlike some of the other empires that we've just considered. It was much more of a decentralized state, which was a continuity that they brought over from the Maya, okay? So, as they expanded their control, they sent local governors to extract tribute from those that they conquered. And so, therefore, the Mexica could, or the Aztec, could exercise political dominance over, like, people really far from from the imperial center without being directly involved. And that's how they did it, and it worked pretty well for them. All of this they carried over from the Maya, including the practice of human sacrifice. So that's fun. And that's going to lead us into big idea number 5. 2 more for this unit. African state building was facilitated through participation in trade networks and religion. Okay, so let's talk about one example here, the big one, the Great Zimbabwe. Okay, the Great Zimbabwe prospered mainly because of trade. Okay, also they were big into agriculture. They had rich deposits of gold, etc. And most important to their prosperity was participation in the Indian Ocean Trade Network. Again, more in Unit 2. Their participation in that connected them to, East Africa and the Middle East and South Asia and East Asia. And that was one way in which they became very prosperous. So, merchants had a big hand. The influence of merchants from various places had a big hand in the development of a new language in the Great Zimbabwe. That new language was Swahili, which was a blend of indigenous Bantu language and Arabic, which came from the Islamic merchants. Okay, so there we get some cultural diffusion and some blending there, and we get something new altogether. Now, the capital city, Great Zimbabwe, at its height, had nearly like 20,000 people living in those walls. It was very big, and so the point is, not all states within Africa were the same. In fact, they were very different from each other, but some of them were similar. But one difference, so that we can actually make a comparison here, was Ethiopia. So this state emerged in the 12th century. What happened to my thing? Emerged in the 12th century, and it was a Christian kingdom. Okay, so not Muslim, which was sort of over the course of the next couple of centuries, Islam was going to come to dominate African states. But Ethiopia was a Christian kingdom. And so, they consolidated their power with monumental architecture, like massive stone churches that they built. And, by building these, they were able to put their power, those in the authority were able to put their power on display for everyone. It's like, whoever built that must be in charge. Yeah, I built that. I'm in charge. I got a lot of power. That's kind of how monumental architecture works. Also, Ethiopian Christianity developed largely apart from Roman Catholic and Orthodox flavors of Christianity that were being practiced in Europe and Western Europe and in Eastern Europe. And that leads us to the final big idea for Unit 1, and that is state building in Europe was characterized by religious belief, feudalism, and decentralized monarchies. Okay, so religion in Europe, big deal. It was very significant for state building. There was a significant cultural continuity that went through state building for European kingdoms, and that was the Roman Catholic Church. So, both universities and artists, they were usually men of the church, okay? Now, even though that's true, within Europe, there is some diversity, okay? So there is a strong Muslim presence on the Iberian Peninsula. If you don't know what the Iberian Peninsula is, it's where Spain is, right? Spain, France, Spain, into Portugal. That's the Iberian Peninsula. The Muslims who lived there were ejected after 1492 thanks to Ferdinand and Isabella's Reconquista, and that would ultimately lead to a revival of Catholicism in Spain and an impulse to spread across the world. And again, we'll get to that. There's also a small but, influential Jewish population in Europe, although that did diminish during the Reconquista because they were also targets. Okay. One of the big things to remember about European states, they were decentralized as a rule, okay? There wasn't a large European empire, and the reason why is because they had decentralized political systems. They were characterized by feudalism, okay, which organized society into sort of like hierarchical levels. There was the king, and the king granted land to the nobles, the lords, in exchange for their service to the king in tribute. And then those lords would hire knights to protect the land and, go to war if necessary. And then there was the peasantry who worked the land to provide produce for the lords. And ultimately, their lives were kind of tied to the land. They didn't have freedom to come and go as they pleased. And And so with saying that, I've basically started talking about the larger organizing political and social order of Europe during that time, which is the manorial system. So manor, that's like a system that contained a whole village, okay? And many serfs lived their entire existence without ever having left their manor. So that's sort of the world of Europe, okay? It was made up of tons of different manors all over the place. Now, in agriculture, Europeans did come up with a pretty good idea, and that was the 3-field system. Here, crops were rotated through 3 different fields. So 2 were planted and 1 remained fallow, and then they would, move them along and change fields after the harvest. And that led to more food, which led to more population growth, which ultimately would lead to more power in the coming centuries. And that is all we're going to do for Unit 1. Well done, guys. Well done. So I think I'm going to do a few super chats right now, and then we'll move on to Unit 2. Let me get some tea. All right. Hold on, I can't see this. Stand by. Okay, whatever. All right, this is from, I'm reading from 6:50 p.m. GBE 84. Yo, Heimler, can you evaluate the extent to which Mr. Easley's Walnut Grove High School students are going to schwack this exam? Yeah, that's easy. The extent to which Mr. Easley's Walnut Grove High School students are going to schwack this exam is great because of my evidence is because of the skillful and marvelous use of the word schwack. Rainbow Nerd Star. Hey, Big Heimler, can you shout out Miss Espinoza from Doral Academy, please, from Bryson and Nicola. M. White, 499. Can you give a shout out to Miss Lawrence's Period 1 class, please, and thank you. Caden Thorne. Yo, shout out Mr. Bore's class. Addison Jones. No message, but a donation. Thank you. Same from Allison Howard. Thank you. Catherine 8. Hi, can you please say, this WAP is bananas? You got it. Salty Rage. Shout out to the GOAT, Mr. Hoxie. Can you please sing a song for him? He'd love it. That's all I got. That's just off the top of my head. My throat's been hurting, and so I got these lozenges called Grethers, and apparently this is what the Broadway singers use. And so if I pop one in later and a song tune comes out or a show tune comes out, I can't help myself. Moving on. Nix Woods. Shout out Mr. White from BCA for making me take AP. All right. ASM or 8PB. Shout out Mr. Hayes. Ricardo Suarez. It's a teacher. All right. Shout out to my students at the Suarez Empire for all their hard work this year. Hashtag new key point. Who dis? And that's a $50. My goodness. Thank you, Ricardo. Very generous of you. I hope you guys do well. Ty Leah. Shout out to Amber in Mr. Rogowski's class at BHS. Liam McSorley. Ms. Griffith. Just Glacier 12. Northy, we love you. You're going to do so well. Aw. All right, one more, and then we'll get back to the Unit 2. This is Avi1 Eva. Please shout out Mr. Shane Beck, the greatest AP World teacher of all time. I love to hear that. That's beautiful. All right. Very nice. Thank you for sending those in, guys. And by the way, what did I just do to my computer? There we go. And by the way, if there's a hard spelling or something, like spell it phonetically, because I want to make sure to say everybody's name right. It feels good if the name is said right. And if you're just joining the stream, if you do the super chat for the shout outs, I'll be reading most of them at the end. I can already see we've got a huge log going. So we'll get to most of those at the end. Just pay attention to where, what time you sent it. Okay. Let's move on to Unit 2, y'all. We ain't got no time to waste. I keep losing my mouse. There we are. Okay, Unit 2. Oh, I love you guys too. You know I love y'all. Aw. Okay, Unit 2. Let's start with big idea number 1. Actually, before we get that, let me just tell you, as I mentioned, Unit 1, it's all about the methods that powers around the world use to build up their states. But this unit, which takes place in the same time period, is all about how those various states were connected to each other, okay? So we're going to kind of say some of the same things, but we're emphasizing connection rather than state building, okay? So big idea number 1, networks of exchange expanded in geographical scope and led to increasing interactions between states. Okay, so 3 big trade networks that you're going to need to remember. Number 1, you got the Silk Roads, okay? Excuse me. Along the Silk Roads, mainly luxury goods were exchanged across these routes that were destined for elite markets. And the most prominent of them was silk that was coming out of China, and that's where the road gets its name, or the set of roads gets its name. Now, as these trading routes grow in popularity, several cities located along the trade routes grow in power right at the same time and prominence as well because of their importance to the facilitation of these trade routes, okay? So, for example, you've got Kashgar, which is on the eastern edge of China. You've got Samarkand, which is in Central Asia. And you just need to remember that the big reason that these cities grew both in size and in power and in wealth was because they were located along these strategic trade routes, okay? So the growth of commerce along the Silk Roads was facilitated by innovations in transportation, but also in commercial technologies as well. So as far as transportation goes, there was the caravanserai. This was sort of a series of inns and guest houses all along the, spaced out about a day's travel apart, all along the Silk Roads where merchants could get food, resupply, be safe at night when they're sleeping. So this is a big thing to help expand the success of these trade routes. Also, there was new animal technology, things like yokes and saddles and stirrups, which made traveling long distances much easier and in some cases faster. But then when it came to commercial technologies, we had the development of money economies. And this was first developed in China, but the emphasis here is on paper money. And this was a big deal because, paper money is much lighter than silver, much lighter than gold. And so, as merchants were able to carry, less weight, they were able to travel further, travel faster, et cetera. And that that facilitated increased trade. Also, there were new forms of credit. And so credit was essentially based on the Chinese model. And then some European states introduced banking houses, and people could now buy on credit. Anyway, the point is all these things are making it much easier for merchants to travel, for consumers to buy things, and that led to an increase in trade and an increase in wealth and power in certain states and cities. That's the Silk Roads. Now let's turn the corner and talk about the Indian Ocean Network. So up till about 1500, the Indian Ocean Network was the world's most significant sea-based trade network. And it's going to be toppled by the Atlantic trade system that we'll talk about in a moment. But let's first talk about the causes of what caused this network to grow. First of all was the desire for goods that were not found at home. So things like Chinese porcelain, Indian cotton and pepper, spices from Southeast Asia, enslaved people from Africa, ivory, gold, etc. That was one reason that this was such a valuable and powerful trade route, trade system. There were also technological innovations that helped develop this trade system as well. Number one is lateen sails. Helped cut against the wind. There was the magnetic compass, the astrolabe. There were new ship designs like the Chinese junks and the Arab dhows. And so anyway, I can't say too much about those because we're going to run out of time. Point is, new technology helped facilitate trade on the Indian Ocean. Also, as a result of contact between different peoples in that region, the spread of Islam was one of the most significant results. So, as this faith spread into Afro-Eurasia, or throughout Afro-Eurasia, it created connections. It also created like friendly relations among Muslim traders throughout all parts of the Indian Ocean. And so with those friendly connections, it was able to greater facilitation of trade for all who were involved. Now, there were also the growth of powerful trading cities and states. So we talked about Samarkand on the Silk Roads and how that grew because it was located at a strategic point along the Silk Roads. Same thing happened for some strategic cities on the Indian Ocean routes. For example, the Swahili city-states. They acted as brokers for goods that originated from the African interior, things like gold and ivory and enslaved people, in order to find find buyers for those that were coming in from the Indian Ocean trade routes. And so as a result of that sort of developing that skill in brokerage, these states grew enormously in power and in wealth. Okay, let's go on to the trans-Saharan trade. I can say much more about all of these routes, but we can't. So the Trans-Saharan Network, this connected North Africa and the Mediterranean with the interior of West Africa. So what caused this network to grow? Because all these trade networks are growing during this period. Well, say it with me, innovations in transportation technologies. And so it's sort of many very similar reasons why all of these trade networks are growing, even though they're in different parts of the world. But in the trans-Saharan trade, one of the big one was the introduction of the Arabian camel. And then later came the camel saddle, which I don't know, I never ride a camel. I guess it makes it more comfortable, easier to ride long distances. I don't know. But the effect, regardless, was, further increase of interregional trade, and it expanded the geographical range of the existing routes. And so, that's all I'm going to say about that one. All right, let's move on to big idea number 2. We got 5 units to get through tonight, y'all. We got to go. Let's lock in. All right. A major effect of the growth of trading routes was cultural diffusion. There it is. All right, so cultural diffusion. So as these states are interconnected with one another, they are not just trading goods. They're not just trading porcelain and gold and ivory, whatever. They're not just trading those things. They're also trading ideas. They're interacting with each other's worldviews and belief systems. And so I mentioned that Buddhism entered China from India. Do you know how it did that? It did that through the Silk Roads, through merchants on the Silk Roads. But again, Buddhism also changed when it got to China. We talked about that with the syncretism of Buddhism and Taoism, and the result being Chan Buddhism. Later, that was exported to Japan via trade routes, and it was adopted by them, but then also changed to Zen Buddhism. Okay, now Hinduism and Buddhism also entered Southeast Asia through trade as well. Remember, we talked about the Srivijaya Empire. They were Hindu. That Hinduism came through trade routes. Majapahit Kingdom, they were Buddhist, trade routes, okay? Islam also spread throughout sub-Saharan Africa, also Asia, as a result of trade and conquest. So, it's sort of the same story over and over again. This is what happens when trade networks expand. Cultural diffusion expands right along with it. And I think the last thing I'll say in this big idea is that there's a lot of good that comes, let's be value neutral here. There's a lot of expansion that comes with the growth of these trade networks, but this interconnectedness could have some downsides as well, like the rise and fall of cities that are dependent on their strategic locations. Along these trade routes. Okay, so one example is of the rise of these cities that I mentioned before, Samarkand and Kashgar. Okay, but An example of the fall of a city that resulted from all this interconnectedness was Baghdad, okay? So as the Mongols came into contact with the Abbasid Empire in the east, they sacked Baghdad in 1258, and that led to a significant period of decline for this once exceedingly vigorous city. And, the Mongols would not have, theoretically, could not have reached that if there wasn't so much interconnection, even though they facilitated some of it. It doesn't matter. What the point is, that's an example of potentially a downside. Okay, let's go to big idea number 3. The increasing interconnection facilitated by trading routes led to significant environmental consequences. Oh boy, let's talk about environment. So, significant effect of the increasing connectivity of the world during 1200 to 1450 was the spread of various crops, which had some very significant consequences, but also diseases as well. And all of those are spreading along trade routes, okay? So let's talk about a couple of the crops that would be good to know. Maybe just put one of these in your pocket for the exam. One of them is bananas, which come from Africa. So, the banana was originally, it doesn't come from Africa. It was originally from Southeast Asia. And it was introduced to Africa thanks to the Indian Ocean trade, and led to the as they adopted the banana, cultivated it more and more. That led to the rise of powerful chiefdoms and larger kingdoms because it became a source of power. And then, of course, there's champa rice in East Asia. We all know this. But also, these trade routes are facilitating the spread of disease. So this, increasing connectivity created the occasion for the spread of one of the most deadly diseases in world history, the bubonic plague, but known by its cheerier name, the Black Death. So big idea number 4. That's all we're going to say about that. We're cooking. All right. Finally, we're at the Mongols. And I'm going to say precious little about the Mongols. They're so interesting, but there's only really one big idea I want you to come away with. The Mongols created the largest land-based empire in history, which facilitated further interconnection and interaction across Afro-Eurasia. So, the most important thing, for my money, about the Mongols is understanding how the Mongols created the conditions for increased interaction among distant states and cultural and technological transfers. Okay, it's not the battles and the conquering and all in the Genghis Khan, etc., all that fun stuff. But it is one of the most important things you can remember. So, as far as the increased interaction goes, the Silk Road trading networks, they worked the best when large empires controlled their routes, okay? Because they could then provide safety along the routes, continuity along the routes. And there's no better example of that than the Mongol Empire. So, over time, as the entire Eurasian world came under their domination, they encouraged They facilitated and encouraged international trade, and they extracted great wealth as the facilitators of commerce on the Silk Roads. Now, the Mongol Empire also led to an unprecedented increase in communication and cooperation all across Eurasia. So, for example, Persian and Chinese courts often were able to work together across long distances, sending, skilled artisans back and forth and exchanging ambassadors, sharing military intelligence, etc., all because the Mongols created the system in which such exchanges could easily occur. Now, the Mongols and their growing empire were also responsible for some technological and cultural transfers as well. So, because it was Mongol policy to send skilled people to various parts of the empire, that transfer of people encouraged the transfer of technology and ideas and culture in those places that they got sent. So, for example, science and technology. The authorities in the Ilkhanate region of the former Mongol Empire made significant advances in astronomy and created very advanced astronomical tools. In doing so, they increased the accuracy of calendars and improved tools like the astrolabe, and the Mongols facilitated that. And so the big idea with the Mongols, just how did the largest land-based empire in history, how did that facilitate cultural, political, technological transfers across such a great distance? And that's all we're going to do for Unit 2. Okay, what are we at? We're at 7:45. We're good. We're good. All right, let me read a few more of these super chats before we move on to Unit 3. Get some water. Stay hydrated. Yes, I am posting this on YouTube afterwards. And if you weren't here for the announcement at the beginning, I'm only taking the super chats get turned off at 8:30. So if you want to submit one, you want the shout out, 8:30 is the time. Okay. All right, let's go. All right, this is Bliss K3M. Say hi to Miss Leifer at Vines. Hello. Vern the Feathery. Shout out Mr. Witten. Human Bob 27. Can you shout out Miss Headland's 5th period? Thanks. And these are coming from, this is from 7:03 p.m. Luck V6 F1L. Miss Brady the Goat. Rowan 9. Shout out Mr. Mitchell. Cow 3.14. Shout out to the Goat, Mrs. Stork. Please give me a 5. I need this. Radical Nerf Nerds. Shout out Miss LeBron, aka Miss LeGoat. Harold Lopez, 1632. Zaddy Heimler, we love you. I love you back. You know I do. Do a few more here. Daniela Band L3M. Shout out to Miss McLeod from Pineview. Ace Asek Chow. Shout out to my glorious King Goss. All right, we're still reading from 7:03 p.m. Toes Sparkle Glitter. Shout out to Miss Brady. Thank you for the live. You're welcome. Pimp Dusty. Shout out to Mr. Blader. Vic Alatorre. Shout out Miss Bolton's class, Santiago. Thank you for doing this. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Vito Blondie. Can you shout out Mr. Otto from Miller Place? You got it. Sil 8415. Shout out Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith. Indeed. All right. I'm going to hold the rest of them, do a few more after the next unit. And because we're going to get through Unit 3 here. All right, Unit 3, short. There's only three big ideas for Unit 3, so get excited about that. Here we go. Land-based empires. All right. Where are we at? Big idea number 3, or Unit 3, big idea number 1. So, various land-based empires expanded throughout 1450 to 1750, most significantly through the use of gunpowder. Okay, we did move into a new time period now. We're in 1450 to 1750, so just making sure you heard that. So let's talk about these quick overview of these gunpowder empires. And we're going to start with the Ottoman Empire. And by the way, if, the Ottoman Empire does a lot of heavy lifting for you. If you study the Ottoman Empire between now and your exam, that's going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you because it shows up a lot in the curriculum. Anyway, Ottoman Empire is founded in the 14th century. It's very small, but, it grows significantly over time because of the adoption of gunpowder weapons. That's going to be the theme of all these empires that I'm about to mention, okay? So by 1402, a lot of southwestern Europe and Anatolia was under their control. And by 1453, the Ottomans sacked Constantinople and named it Istanbul. Why? Gunpowder. That's it. That's always the answer. They were able to do this because of their fierce military, one of the sections of which was known as the Janissaries, this sort of elite group of fighting force that were trained in gunpowder weapons. They were actually Christians whom the Ottomans had enslaved and converted to Islam and trained them to be a very deadly fighting force. And that was one of the ways they consolidated their power. That's the Ottomans. Then we have the Safavid Empire in the Middle East. They were established in 1501, and under the leadership of Shah Ismail, it was made into a Shiite dynasty, which put it at odds with the Mughal and the Ottoman empires, who were Sunni Muslims, okay? These are the two big branches of Islam. So later, a ruler, Shah Abbas, built up the Safavid military, which included the adoption of gunpowder weapons. And just like in the Ottoman Empire, the Safavid cavalry were not interested in learning to shoot guns from horses. So Shah Abbas created an enslaved army, which were, again, like the Ottomans, Christians from conquered regions, okay? Excuse me. Now let's move on to the Mughal Empire. Another gunpowder empire. So this was in South and Central Asia. Long story short, 1526, it's not really, you don't need to, I'm saying these dates to help you understand where they all fall. You don't need to memorize the dates. It would be good if you kind of knew the general order of things, but not necessarily that the Mughal Empire was established in 1526. Okay. Anyway, in that year, a leader named Babur established the Mughal Empire by displacing the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, how did he do it? Gunpowder weapons. Okay, that's always the answer. And so, under the leadership of Babur's grandson Akbar, Mughal rule covered like half of the Indian subcontinent, which was quite a thing to behold. And under Akbar, his administration was, sort of tolerant of all kinds of religious beliefs, and he was famous for masterfully administering the empire and allowing and facilitating its growth in that way. The fourth big example of a gunpowder empire is the Qing dynasty, also known as the Manchu Empire. But if you don't get confused, those are the same thing. So at this point, Mongol rule is declining, and a new Chinese dynasty was established. That's the Ming dynasty. Okay, we haven't got to the Qing yet. We start with the Ming. By the early 1500s, the Ming dynasty is weakened. There's internal division and external wars. And sorry, that reminded me of something. I'll have to tell you guys after I'm done with Unit 3. If I don't remember, remind me to tell you the Empire joke. Okay. I can't believe I forgot this at the beginning. Anyway, Ming Dynasty, it's fallen apart. So 1636, the Manchu people of the north raid China. They established themselves as leaders and began a new dynasty, which was the Qing Dynasty. Okay, now it's important because most of the Chinese population was ethnically Han. Okay, but the Qing rulers were Manchu, and that's going to cause tension that we'll come back to later. But there, as these gunpowder empires were growing and expanding, it was inevitable that they're going to clash with one another and start, shooting their guns at one another. There's lots of examples of this. I'm only going to give you one, and that's the Safavid-Mughal conflict in the Middle East. So this was a series of wars. This is a series of wars fought between these two Muslim empires in the 17th century. Both of them had conflicting and overlapping territorial ambitions. Also, they had conflicting religious beliefs. Yes, they were both Islamic, but one was Shiite, one was Sunni, and they were having trouble getting along. Ultimately, this conflict led to several wars over the course of several decades. And neither empire could really claim a clear victory. But the point is, this is an example of what happens when these land-based empires are expanding. They're going to come into conflict. That's just how it goes. And that's going to lead us to big idea number 2. Rulers of land-based empires gained power and maintained control by establishing bureaucracies, sponsoring the creation of art, centralizing tax collection, and developing large militaries. I hope that sounds familiar because that's a lot of what was going on in the states that we talked about in the last unit, okay? Now, in this big idea, I said 2 words that are going to be important to know. Okay, no, I didn't say it. I said gained power and maintained control. The College Board, what you're probably going to see on your exam is legitimizing and consolidating power. These are important to know. And if you don't know what they mean, it could be that you're going to see a DBQ or an LEQ about explaining how leaders consolidated and legitimized their power. If you don't know what those mean, you're cooked. So when we're talking about legitimizing power, these are methods that a ruler uses to communicate who's in charge. Okay, I'm going to show you this in a second. Consolidating power, these are methods that are used to transfer power from other groups to, a single group or a single ruler. Okay, so legitimizing power, how do you know that I'm in charge? Consolidating power, I'm going to take all your power and give it to me. Okay, that's basically a crude way of putting it. So how did rulers in these land-based empires do these two things? Well, number one, the formation of large bureaucracies. For example, the Ottomans used the devshirme system to staff their imperial bureaucracy with highly trained individuals. They also developed military professionals. I already mentioned the Janissaries with the Ottomans. Another example would be in the Tokugawa shogunate over in Japan. The samurai were put on the government's payroll. They became salaried warriors and bureaucrats. But then thirdly, these land-based empires legitimized and consolidated their power through religious ideas, art, monumental architecture. For example, in Europe, European kings claimed to rule by divine right, which means, excuse me. All right, I'm only going to say sorry once for my coughing. Sorry. That's it. Okay. Hopefully the tea will do its work. European kings claim to rule by divine right. What this means is the king or queen is essentially claiming that they are God's representative on earth. Okay. So, for example, Louis XIV of France, ruled by divine right. English kings claimed to rule by divine right. Louis XIV also used architecture to consolidate his rule when he built the Palace of Versailles. So he forced a lot of the nobility to live there. And the reason he did that is so that he could control them, which means less power for them, more power for him. That's consolidating power. All right. Now, over in the Americas, similar things. You had the Aztec practice of human sacrifice. This was a religious way to consolidate power. In the Inca Empire, you had the Sun Temple of Cuzco. In order to, facilitate festivals of worship, these Incan rulers built the Sun Temple, example of monumental architecture. All right, I'm gonna take a beat. Talk amongst yourselves about monumental architecture. Enjoy. The Emperor's New Groove. I don't think so. Although maybe. All right, let's see if we can keep going. All right. Where are we at? Sun Temple. Oh yeah, so using architecture as a way to consolidate or legitimize power. This thing was marvelous. The walls are covered in gold. The courtyards, hundreds of golden statues. Again, it's like putting wealth on display and grandeur on display in order to communicate who's in charge. Then over in China, you had Emperor Kangxi of the Qing dynasty, who used art to consolidate his power. Because remember, the Qing were Manchu. They were not ethnically Han like the rest of the population. So Kangxi displayed imperial portraits of himself in prominent places throughout the empire, and in that way communicated. Often that was in the form of like Confucian wisdom, like that's how he portrayed himself. So he's trying to communicate he's the legitimate ruler of these people. There were also tax collection systems that these empires used to consolidate and legitimize power. The Zamindar tax collection system in the Mughal Empire was one of them. So, remember, the Mughal leaders were Muslim, but they ruled over a population in South Asia that was almost entirely Hindu. So to consolidate power, tax collection systems were carried out by these guys named Zamindars. Essentially elite landowners. They were granted authority over the peasants living on the land, and they could tax them on behalf of the imperial government. You also had Ottoman tax farming, not the same, but similar in the way that it consolidated power for the Ottomans. And that's going to lead us to big idea number 3. Belief systems could play different roles in and among land-based empires. In some cases, shared beliefs bound people together. In other cases, conflicting beliefs caused conflict. Okay, so I reckon we ought to start with Christianity in Europe. So since the first century CE, Christianity had been a shared cultural belief among most Europeans. Again, remember, there's also there's a significant Muslim minority, also a significant Jewish minority, but for the majority, Christianity. But in the 16th century, you get the Protestant Reformation, and that caused a serious breakdown of that unity. So Reformation begins in 1517 when Martin Luther denounces the corruption of the Catholic Church in his 95 Theses. It spreads wildly because of the printing press throughout all of Europe, and it resulted in a major split in the Christian church. So now there's a whole branch of Catholics and a whole branch of Protestants. The result is that different rulers across Europe either remained Catholic, or they imposed Protestantism upon the people that they ruled. And that religious division led to a series of religious wars until 1648, essentially. But there was also continuity. Well, let's hold off on that. So that was Christianity. Also, in terms of Islam, the Sunni Shia split intensified, as I mentioned before, in the conflicts between the Mughal, the Safavid, and the Ottoman empires. So these belief systems, as helpful as they are for consolidating control, can also lead to fractures and lead to more problems in growing an empire, consolidating power, etc. But sometimes the interaction of belief systems of different people produced new belief systems. Again, this is syncretism. This is what we call it. A good example of this is Sikhism in South Asia. So Sikhism represents both a continuity and a change, okay? So a continuity is that it's a syncretic blend of Hindu and Islamic doctrines. But in terms of change, it's like, in blending these two belief systems together, the resulting faith is entirely different from either, although, if you can tell where the parentage comes from, so to speak. All right, and that is the end of Unit 3. All right, we got 2 more units to go. It's 8 o'clock. All right, we got this. Let me do a few super chats, and we'll get back to it. All right, reading from 7:03 p.m. now. FNAF fan. Shout out to Mr. Rogowski, Brandon High School. W. Cooper. Shout out to Brother Lega for leading us through the depths of AP World. Daniela Dejensky. Shout out to Mr. Herper's 4th period, except for Holden. Oh, poor Holden. Gavwid Music. Shout out to Mr. Skinner. Ms. Skinner. Cow Thieves. Shout out to the goat, Miss Ingram. Dylan Lee Waddle. Shout out my goat, Mr. Schaefer. Yes. Extinct Karma. Shout out Mr. Oakley. Anvar Bullis. Please shout out Miss Hampton's 3rd period class from President Arnav and Vice Casey. Thank you. You're welcome. And all right, I'll do a few more here. A few more. We got a lot. All right, Depression Mango. Shout out to Mr. Chepiga. He likes coffee. Well, that's great. Love it. Kumori exists. Can you shout out Mr. Sue from Kumori? Mike and Sebastian. Mr. Alaham. This is 7:04 p.m., by the way. Mr. Dimitri at Chippewa High School is the best AP World teacher. Aw. Sophia Luce, Mrs. Zaradnik is my goat. M. Martin E1.1. Shout out Mrs. Bliss, the goat. Jack the snack that smiles back. Please shout out St. Louis University High. Hey guys. Also Miss Errett, not to fail me. Okay. Good luck with that. All right, Ashita Dances. Let me do 2 more here. Ashita Dances. Shout out Mr. Peters. And then Briar Wells, Dr. Baker's 5th period class. Hey, guys. All right. Stop there for now and put that over there. And we'll move on to Unit 4. Now, I wish I had predictions for you guys. I don't. People ask me every year, and Empire joke. Thank you. Yes. Okay. So, thank you. Got it. So, I was trying to come up with a joke for last night, and my daughter was like, why don't you just ask ChatGPT to give you, a world history coded dad joke? I'm like, I'm not taking my humor from ChatGPT. It doesn't even know how to be funny, right? So she's like, watch this. She asked for a dad joke that would appeal to AP World History students. Are you all ready? Are you ready? Here's what it said. Why did the empire fall? Because it couldn't maintain political stability, had economic decline, and got invaded by external forces. I mean, factually true, not funny, but also kind of funny. Because it's funny because you're expecting a joke, and what you get is a robot. I don't know. Okay. Like chat has access to all the jokes that's ever been written. How is this what it's coming up with? I don't know. Okay. Let's go. We're in Unit 4. What is Unit 4? It is, transoceanic interconnections. All right. So big idea number 1. Let's go. New and updated maritime technology facilitated transoceanic trade and the development of sea-based empires. Okay, so last one was all about land-based empires. Now we're moving into sea-based empires, maritime empires, okay? Don't get confused on that word. It just means maritime means sea-based, okay? So these sea-based empires were able to do this because of their use of updated knowledge and technology. So, for example, Europeans borrowed from classical Islamic and Asian societies that enabled them to sort of claim their moment here on the world stage. So, for example, the astrolabe was a big deal. This reckoned how far north and south a ship was from the equator, and that came from the Greeks and the Muslims. There was also the magnetic compass that helped Europeans create a vast maritime empire. That came from China. There was a lateen sail, which was from the Mediterranean trade network. I could go on. The point is, as European states begin to build their maritime empires, it's because they are borrowing technology that has come from other places, and in some cases, innovating upon it as well. For example, the Europeans did innovate, and one of the big ones was via ship design, okay? The Portuguese and the Dutch were big ship builders. So with the Dutch, they had the caravel. That's the Portuguese. They created a new ship called the caravel. It was much faster, it's much smaller, very nimble, very fast, using a combination of a square sail and a lateen sail. And it was built in order to carry lots of cargo. Okay. So it was there for trade, and really helped them, establish their presence, throughout the oceanic world. The Dutch created the Flout, new ship. This had a metric buttload of cargo space, and was able to, it enabled the Dutch VOC, the East India Company, to demonstrate, not demonstrate, what's the word? Dominate trade in the Indian Ocean, and that's going to have some serious consequences that we're going to get to presently. Big idea number 2. European state-sponsored exploration led to rapid expansion of trade and transatlantic contact with the Americas. Okay, now we're going west. So 3 reasons that you're going to need to remember that state-sponsored exploration across the sea. Number 1, it's the boom boom. It's always the boom boom. Wealth building. Don't say boom boom on your test. It was wealth building. So, having access to the lucrative Indian Ocean trade, the European states really wanted to be able to trade on their own terms. And so because Muslims controlled things like, at least the western terminus of the Silk Roads and significant portions of them, European states wanted access to the Indian Ocean trade on their own terms. So they went out and started sailing and finding. Where have I used all my words? I might have used all my words at this point. But also, so they went out to build these maritime empires in order to build wealth. Number two, in order to spread religion, specifically Christianity. Now, European states tended to tie Christianity very tightly to their political structure, and so there was a strong impulse to spread that religion. Not only because it was a spreadable religion, it was sort of what we call a universalizing religion, but when that religion is tied to the state and identified with the state, spreading the religion means spreading the power of the state. Okay. Another reason they were able to build, another motivation to build these maritime empires was competition with other states. So mercantilism was the dominant economic system that these states subscribed to at this point, and we'll talk more about it, but ultimately it meant that there was only a finite amount of wealth in the world. And so, if empire building is the way that states are going to get their limited piece of the pie, then no one can afford to fall behind. So competition was a big one. Now, the Portuguese, in terms of building sea-based empires, the Portuguese were the first movers. But they didn't build a traditional, in the beginning, they didn't build sort of a traditional empire that we would think. They first started by sailing around Africa and creating what's known as a trading post empire, which was made up of very small but strategically located trading posts all around the African coast, and then ultimately throughout the Indian Ocean as well. And they weren't really establishing, like traditional colonies, like taking over the whole thing and, all that. They really just wanted to influence, possess a complete monopoly over the spice trade in the Indian Ocean. And they wanted to do that by staying nimble and small in their operations, but still influential and powerful. So that's how the Portuguese sort of took the first step. Then came Spain, okay? Spain, their monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella, they were the ones who sponsored Christopher Columbus to sail west across the ocean, trying to find a sea route to Asia. But the Spanish, in building their maritime empire, differed pretty significantly from the Portuguese. Not only did they sail west, they ultimately would be far more interested in conquering large swaths of people and land, and creating a new Spain across the ocean. Now Portugal is going to do that too eventually, but in the beginning it's different. So the effect of Columbus sailing west is that it dramatically increased interest in transatlantic sailing. Okay, so he was successful. He found these continents that Europeans didn't know existed. And so that increased dramatically the trade across the Atlantic. So as a result, the English, the French, the Dutch, they all sponsored explorers to sail west in order to find a sea route into Asia. And, they didn't find it. It's not there. But regardless, they did, and that helped them build their empires in other ways. And leads us to big idea number 3. The Columbian Exchange was the transfer of animals, plants, foods, and diseases from Europe to the Americas and vice versa. As a result of new contact, Europeans sought to colonize the Americas. Okay, real quick on the Columbian Exchange here. Very lovely exchange. You're going to need to know a few of the things that were exchanged and the impacts that they had. So food was exchanged. So let's talk about crops. From the Americas into Europe, you had potatoes and maize going from the Americas into Europe. And then you had wheat and rice going from Europe into the Americas. And then, and when enslaved Africans later came into the Americas, they also brought foods like okra and rice as well. The effect, it's helpful if you know a couple of those, but the effect is really what you need to hold on to, is that as Afro-Eurasian populations expanded their diets, right, they're getting new foods from across the world that their bodies had never encountered before. That means that the Afro-Eurasian populations are getting overall healthier. They're getting an increased lifespan, which leads to a population increase, which is in this case going to lead to more technological development, more wealth, etc., and more dominance on the world stage. So those are crops. Also, animals were exchanged. You had turkeys and llamas going from the Americas into Europe, you had cattle, pig, horses going from Europe into the Americas. Very similar kind of effect that I just mentioned. One of the most significant transfers that occurred was diseases. Okay, so from Europe into the Americas, we got smallpox. And this devastated the population of the Americas, along with other diseases like measles, etc. Now the exchange occurred. There were some benefits for both sides. There were some downsides for both sides, but more of the downsides for sure happened on the side of the Americas, and more of the benefits happened in the European states. And that's going to lead us to big idea number 4. With transoceanic contact established, European states established empires fueled by mercantilist economic policy and coerced labor systems. All right, it's time for everybody's favorite state-run economic system, mercantilism. So if you don't know what mercantilism is, it's basically what I said before. There's a finite amount of wealth in the world. Therefore, the main emphasis is to maintain a favorable balance of trade, meaning a state wants more exports than imports, because if you're exporting things, then that means gold's coming in. If you're importing things, that means your gold is going out. And so it's a very simplified version of it. There are other facets of it as well. The big idea is that there's only a finite amount of wealth in the world, and that creates an enormous amount of competition in order to grab that piece of the pie. Okay. So, let's talk about these economic policies and those coerced labor systems. So in Europe and in Africa. So as the Portuguese established their, thing we talked about, the trading post empire around Africa, some Africans perceived them as intruders. However, other African kingdoms grew as a result of contact with European merchants, like the Asante Empire. So there was sort of a mixed bag. Now, there were new maritime empires that were arising after the Spanish and the Portuguese. For example, the British. The British also went out seeking, trade routes, maritime trade routes throughout the Indian Ocean and across the Atlantic as well. In India, they began by establishing, various trading posts under the authority of the British East India Company, but they soon were able to take advantage of the growing tension between Muslims and Hindus. Remember, we talked about in the last unit, and they took advantage of that, got in there, pulled it apart, and their political influence grew until basically the British East India Company controlled most of the Indian subcontinent. And then when it comes to Spain, they encountered the Aztec and the Inca empires, both of which pretty quickly, despite their massive numbers and their incredible strength, those empires fell pretty quickly, mainly because their populations were ravaged by disease like smallpox and measles. And that created the occasion for a relatively few number of Spaniards to overtake them. Now, over time, there was conflict between these states like Spain and Portugal, over colonial claims in the New World. And so, in this particular example, Spain signs a treaty with Portugal named the Treaty of Tordesillas, which basically divided up the Americas and between the two powers. And essentially, Portugal got the western part of Brazil in this deal, and the Spanish got the eastern part. And that would be a continuing source of tension. But it's just an example of the tension over colonial claims being resolved by diplomacy instead of war. And there was plenty of examples of the other as well. Now, back to the Spanish Empire. They essentially just begin their conquest by plundering the Americas for gold and silver, but they quickly realize, they turn the corner and they realize that the actual wealth here is in agriculture. Okay, so so that leads to the introduction of certain labor systems in order to exploit that resource. So the big labor system, coerced labor system that the Spanish puts in place was the encomienda system. This was a coercive labor system in which the Spanish compelled indigenous people to work their plantations. It was later replaced largely by the hacienda system, which, paid laborers very low wages. Their debts remained very high, and it was just, essentially a way to tie them to the land, another means of coerced labor. Spanish were also very interested in minerals. Silver was a big one as well, but agriculture was sort of the cash cow. Now, a big part of all this colonization, really always pull on those strings, and you'll ultimately get back to mercantilism. It's a limited amount of wealth in the world. That means the colonies had to be established for the enrichment of the homeland. And, that drove Spanish efforts to mine silver and then to bring enslaved African laborers over as well. So because agriculture was the real moneymaker, Europeans turned to Africa in order to get more laborers, because the indigenous populations in the encomienda and hacienda system, they were dying off because of all the diseases. Okay, so as the plantation economy of the Americas grew, so too did the demand for enslaved people from Africa. So the more money they're making on agriculture, the more the demand spikes for enslaved people from Africa. And the effect of that was a century-long population decline in some African states. But even so, Africans also affected the societies of the Americas. Like they shaped and enriched the language and the culture of the places that they were taken. I mentioned earlier they brought different foods like okra and introduced those as well. And that's going to lead us to big idea number 5. We're in Unit 4. Thank you. Somebody's saying you won't donate another $100. Did somebody donate $100? You guys are crazy. Okay, I can't wait to see that one. All right, big idea number 5. Let's focus. The development of maritime empires over time significantly changed the economies and societies in which they were established. Okay, so key to this point is the rise of joint stock companies, okay? The Dutch, the English, the French, they all developed joint stock companies. The British East India Company was an example. The Dutch East India Company, whatever. These were a big deal because they allowed, continued exploration / colonization with limited risks to investors. And it was, at least in the beginning, the rise of these and the influence of these joint stock companies that facilitated maritime colonization. Now, this also led to economic disputes, okay? The development of maritime empires led to economic disputes and rivalries, okay? So a good example here is the Moroccan conflict with the Songhai Empire. So the Moroccans soundly defeated the invading Portuguese, but in defending themselves against the Portuguese, the Moroccans were kind of broke. And so they traveled across the Saharan desert to invade the Songhai Empire in order to, get their wealth. And they were successful to a degree because it was difficult to maintain power across the desert. And eventually that relationship and that extension of their empire crumbled. Now, also, in terms of changing societies and changing economies, we have the triangular trade or the triangle trade. It's the same thing. It depends on depends on who you're talking to. But the triangle trade is only one small part of the larger Atlantic system of trade. But we'll talk about the triangle trade. The basic form is this, that manufactured goods were traded from Europe to West Africa. Enslaved people were transported to the Americas, and then raw materials like sugar, molasses, and that sort of thing were transported back to Europe, and on and on and on it goes. Now, as these Atlantic trade routes are connecting new societies, these societies are changing, okay? So they're influencing each other, just like they were with the land-based trade routes I was talking about earlier. So, for example, with religion, as religion spreads into new territories, there are two responses. There's syncretism and there's conflict, okay? Real quick, syncretism, like the blending of indigenous religions in the Americas with the Christianity of their European colonizers. And a conflict, the Sunni-Shia divide between Muslims that I mentioned earlier. And that leads us to big idea number 6. Big idea number 6. All right, we're 5 minutes from 8:30, and 8:30 is when the super chats turn off. So I just heads up. Give some love to Matt, the moderator in the chat. He's working hard over there. All right, Unit 4, big idea number 6. As states impose their cultural and political and economic will on various colonized and enslaved people, resistance occurred. So let's talk about that resistance. One example, the Maratha Rebellion. So the Mughal emperors were Muslim, as you remember, but India was a majority Hindu, okay? So a group of Hindu warriors called the Maratha, they rebelled against what they perceived as an invasion of their own beliefs. And that rebellion brought the Mughal Empire to an end and replaced it with the Maratha Empire. Another example, very quickly, is the Pueblo Revolt. This is over in North America, in the Spanish colonies of North America. Here, Pueblo and Apache American Indians had grown very tired of the Spanish attempting to force conversion upon them. And so they killed hundreds of Spaniards and burned their churches. And then the Spaniards came back later and made them pay dearly for that. But the point is, there was rebellion. There was also rebellion of enslaved Africans in North American British colonies in the Stono Rebellion. But we're going to move on to big idea number 7. All right, big idea number 7. Social categories, roles, and practices were both maintained and underwent significant change during this period. So social categories, roles, and practices. Let's talk about it. How were they maintained? Well, in the Qing Dynasty, which, remember, was established by the Manchu, who were not Han Chinese, they did retain some distinctively Chinese institutions, like the civil service exam, the bureaucracy. However, they did have restrictive policies against the native Han Chinese. But there was also change in social categories and roles. Good example here is the Spanish casta system in the New World, in the Americas. So this is an entirely new social hierarchy that the Spanish imposed upon the Americas that organized society based on ancestry and race. And at the top was the Spaniards, who were born in Spain, and at the bottom were the Africans and the indigenous Americans. And then in the middle, there's a whole slew of how they defined the mixture of races and how much, all this. But the point is, this is how they defined their society and how it led to some control as well, much control. All right, that's it. That's it for Unit 4. So I think I'm just going to go on and hit Unit 5 so that we can, because we're already almost at 8:30. So I'm going to hit Unit 5 and we are going to go crazy. So let's do it. No, there's no Kahoot. No Kahoot. Sorry. All right, 2 minutes till the super chat shuts off. Okay, let's go. Yeah, something maybe sick. I don't know. All right, Unit 5. Did we already do this? All right, let's go. Big idea number 1. We're in a new time period, by the way, 1750 to 1900. Okay, so new ways of thinking embodied in the Enlightenment created the occasion for reform and revolution. Okay, let's talk about the Enlightenment. What was it? It was a European movement that shifted the locus of knowledge from belief to empirical data and observation. Now, some of the important Enlightenment beliefs that you probably should know, natural rights, which came from our boy John Locke, the social contract, which came from Jean-Jacques Rousseau. There are others as well, but have a couple in your pocket just in case you need them. The point is, in emphasizing, and sort of rejecting traditional authority structures and belief systems, the Enlightenment put the center of authority within the person themselves. Okay, and that led to several reform movements, as you would think it would. So, number one, women's suffrage. Okay, in the United States, the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, women got together to call for equal rights for women, especially the right to vote. Then a big movement for abolitionism. So, the slave trade was banned in many of the states, in many states across the world in the early 1800s. And then Russia abolishes serfdom in 1861. All of this is in some way at least partly influenced by Enlightenment thought. So kind of a big deal. That's going to lead us to big idea number 2. Enlightenment, thinky parts, not the feely or the believey parts. Big idea number 2. The ideas of the Enlightenment combined with the rising nationalism led to various revolutions around the world. Okay, and there are 3 of those revolutions that you're going to need to know. Number 1, the American Revolution. And this, again, know these in order because it matters that these are in order. So the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution. Number 1, the American Revolution. What you need to understand is not necessarily everything that took place during it, but how did it affect or how did it display Enlightenment thought? In the American Revolution's case, you got the Declaration of Independence. So there's this growing sense of nationalism among the British colonists in the 13 colonies due to very repressive British policies, especially taxation, but not exclusively. And that ultimately led to the American Revolution, which resulted in the formation of a new state formed on the principles of Enlightenment thought known as the United States of America. Now, in articulating those ideas in the Declaration of Independence, other people around the world started seeing that and being like, yeah, why are we being ruled by kings? That doesn't even make any sense at all. And so the ideals of the American Revolution inspired both the French and the Haitian Revolution, along with other Latin American independence movements as well. Now, you need to understand that documents that came out of these revolutions exhibit Enlightenment thought. You just kind of have to put these in your brain. In France, I already mentioned in the United States, I already mentioned the Declaration of Independence. In France, the Enlightenment document is the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. Then another one you need to know is Simón Bolívar's letter from Jamaica. All of these, what's most important that you understand is that these led to resistance movements, revolutions based on Enlightenment thought. All right, we're cooking, y'all. Big idea number 3. The Industrial Revolution began in Britain and would eventually transform the world. Okay, so the Industrial Revolution, basically, it's a change in how stuff is going to be made. Okay, it's no longer by hand, it's by... That was a good one. Get rid of that lozenge. Some tea. So, Industrial Revolution, it's a change in how things are made, right? It's no longer by hand. It's now by machines. And it's no longer one at a time. It's mass production. Now, a lot of things we could say about it, and we will say about it, but you need to understand first, why did the Industrial Revolution begin where it did? And it began in Great Britain. Why? Well, a few reasons. Number 1, they had proximity to waterways, right? Like Great Britain is an island, and there's lots of rivers and canals crisscrossing it. And as we've already established, that is great for trade. That is great for, especially when you're mass producing things, you need to trade them. Also, it happened in Great Britain first because of their significant concentration of coal and iron and timber. Well, actually, I mean, timber is more coming from the Americas. So, thanks, colonies. But that's another reason. Third reason is because of urbanization. The more and more people started moving into cities, and cities are where the factories are going to be located. And that was a result of the enclosure movement, which sent people, the poorer element of society, looking for jobs into urban areas. And then there was improved agricultural productivity. I mentioned crop rotation. There's also new innovations like the seed drill, and so more food meant more people, healthier populations, and And that led to innovations like the rise of the factory system. So the factory is going to be the thing that powers the Industrial Revolution. Initially, the factory is powered by water, but then after time, it's powered by steam engines. And so that meant that these factories could mass produce goods in very large quantities. And in this phase of the Industrial Revolution, it's the big money maker is textiles, okay, like clothing, all right? And so as a result, there's a big shift from like artisan labor, like specialized or like skilled labor that people would normally, spend their lives working on and developing. Now in the factory system, labor could be unskilled, right? Because you have to know how to do anything in order to flip that switch or I don't know. I don't know how they worked in the factory, but the point is a de-skilling of the workforce as a result of industrialization. And that leads us to big idea number 4. Big idea number 4. As Western industrialization spread, Middle Eastern and Asian countries' share in global manufacturing declined. All right, this is a quick one. So the rapid development of steam power, that's going to help, other European countries dominate world manufacturing. And so, industrialization begins to spread into continental Europe and then over the Atlantic to the US and then to Russia and then to Japan. And, in these places, they all have different factors that help them to adopt and adapt to industrialization. For example, in the U.S., there's massive amounts of immigration to urban centers during this time. So they had all the human capital they needed to industrialize. Over in Russia, there was the construction of the Trans-Siberian Railroad, which enabled, distant parts of their empire to be connected. And then and Japan was kind of a different story. They embraced industrialization sort of as a defense. They embraced it defensively. So, the Japanese industrialized in order to protect their domestic cultural institutions so that they didn't fall prey to this, growing Western takeover in the Eastern hemisphere. And that all happened during what was called the Meiji Restoration. Now, real quick, as the West, Europe, and the United States, all the states I just mentioned, as they are claiming a larger and larger portion of, global manufacturing, that means that other more traditional places of manufacturing, centers of manufacturing, are now declining. So, for example, textiles used to be a main industry in India, but as textile production flourished in India, it was threatening British industrialists. And so so that pressured the British colonial government to impose taxes on Indian textiles. And that, of course, undermines their profitability and upholds the British model. Now, big idea number 5. The advent of new technologies fundamentally changed the landscape of manufacturing, okay? So the first industrial revolution, as I mentioned, basically 1750s to 1830s-ish, it majored in textiles. It's not the only thing, but sort of the big thing. The second industrial revolution was much more about building materials like steel, okay? That was like 1830s to 1920s. And a big difference between the two industrial revolutions was how they were powered. So the first industrial revolution was powered by the steam engine, which ran on coal. So these were in locomotives. They powered engines for trains. They powered machines for factories. But then the second industrial revolution was mainly powered by oil, like the internal combustion engine and other sources of energy. And so this created a fossil fuel revolution, and that greatly, increased overall the amount of energy that was available to humans. Now, very important thing to stick in your brain about the Industrial Revolution was the importance of railroads, okay? Railroads are going to be the things that transport goods, all these mass-produced goods, to distant regions for sale on the market. Significant on this count is the completion of various transcontinental railroads. So, for example, in the United States, there was several transcontinental railroads that linked Eastern manufacturing with Western markets and raw materials in the West to the East, all crisscrossed the entire country. And that had the effect of uniting the various regional economies and created actually a whole national market for goods. Also, I mentioned the Trans-Siberian Railroad, same kind of effect in Russia as well. Also, the telegraph, I should mention communication technology, that helps make communications, instantaneous over long distances, which also helped facilitate trade. All right, second to last big idea. Significant economic shifts occurred during this period, including the rise of free market capitalism, transnational businesses, and increased standards of living. Okay, so Western European nations, they begin at this point to abandon mercantilism. What replaces it is free market capitalism. It's based on Adam Smith's ideas in a book called The Wealth of Nations. Essentially, it's the principle of laissez-faire. The government should remove all influence of itself from the economy. Just let consumers make their own choices through the forces of supply and demand, and the invisible hand of the market will lead to prosperity in every case. What the nations who are rising to power at this point, the states that are rising to power at this point, they begin to more and more adopt free market economics and reject the mercantilist economics of the past. Also, we get the rise of transnational corporations. These are companies that operate across national boundaries. So, for example, the Unilever Corporation, which was a British and Dutch joint venture, they focused a lot on manufacturing household goods like soap and that sort of thing. And by 1890, by the end of the 19th century, Unilever had soap factories in Australia, in Switzerland, in the United States, etc. Very unique innovation for how business is being done. Also, real quick, there was another effect of industrialization is increased standards of living. So because industrialization focused on mass production, that meant with more goods, those prices become lower and they can mass produce them and mass consume them. And that led to the rise of a very distinct class in these wealthier countries, namely the middle class. All right, last big idea for the night. We locked in? Let's go. Last one. All right, as industrialization spread, it created the occasion for some states to enact reforms. Okay, so for all the blessings that industrialization had for, those powerful people who led those states, it led to some difficulties for other people who were not at the upper echelon of society. So when it came to workers, one way that they responded to industrialization was by creating labor unions. Okay. So factory work, it was nasty. It was dismal. It was long hours, very dangerous conditions, and you didn't get paid that much to do it. And so workers eventually found out, okay, if we gather ourselves together into a labor union, we can now bargain collectively and get our conditions improved, get our wages improved. And so, in many places, these labor unions won minimum wage laws. They also secured shorter work days. They got overtime pay, 5-day work weeks, et cetera, et cetera. Another reform that was introduced as the result of the spread of this free market capitalism was the rise of Marxism. So Karl Marx believed that capitalism and the entrenched class structure that it created was, ruining the world, okay? So his solution he laid out in the Communist Manifesto, and he noted that there were two classes. Basically, there was the proletariat, which is the working class, and there's the bourgeoisie. And those are the ones who own the means of production, like the factories, etc. So the bourgeoisie are always oppressing the proletariat. And so his solution was socialism, and which would then lead to communism, which, it was a society defined by equality and without classes after a great cataclysm of workers rising up and teaching the bourgeoisie who's boss. And then one last reform that I'll mention is the Tanzimat reforms in the Ottoman Empire. these reforms were made to industrialize the Ottoman Empire. A little late, but the goal was to eliminate corruption from the government, and basically it was a response to the encroaching power and influence of the Western world. It was not nearly as successful as Japan's industrialization with similar motivations, but alas, that's the Tanzimat reforms. And that's it. That's all we're doing tonight. Beautiful. We did it, guys. We did it. All right. Now, if y'all are hanging out for these super chats, it's always a fun time. Remember, I'll be reading the timestamp so that you know where I am, and just so you know, if you're not going to stay around, that's totally fine. I get it. I love you all the same, and I hope that you come back tomorrow night. We've got units 6 through 9 to go through, and so we'll be doing that. So if you are signing off, just know I'm proud of you for going through this whole thing. It's been a beast, I know. We got one more night, and I really hope to see you. So with that said, let's read some of these super chats. And no, I don't have any predictions. I wish I did. Did I already say this? I don't have any predictions. I'm terrible at predicting these things. I don't have that kind of mind. All right. Let's get comfortable. We got a lot of these. All right. So, all right. 1929 ACK. This is from 7:04 p.m. Shout out Mr. Hackney's third hour at Crestwood High School class. Perfect meta. Shout out to Miss Sand. Gerbil Bay. Shout out to Mr. McDevitt in Woodside, California. Also shout out, hold on, I made this too small. Also shout out Champa Gang. I'll always shout out the Champa Gang, you know that. Hayden B368. Please shout out Coach Ravencraft from BHS, amazing teacher, and he'd absolutely appreciate it. Well, I hope so. Good job, Coach. Flowered Vlogs. Hi, Heimler. Could you shout out Mr. Frayed? Reagan 77. Shout out Mr. Colwell's 6th period in Ohio. Hey, guys. Rayan Kasham. Please shout out Mr. Kassar's 2nd period. Gale 675. Shout out Miss Mata from Upper Perk High School. All right, I'm reading from still reading from 704. Eroxis. Shout out to Miss Head and Mr. Barnes. Canaan Land 1078. Shout out to Miss Cantrell from Scott County High School. Harold Lopez 1632. Can you bark for us? What? Can you bark for us in the name of AP World? I don't think I want to bark on the internet. You guys know you guys clip these things and then put them all over the thing. I don't think I want that. I love you. Thank you for the donation. But I don't think I'm gonna bark. I gotta have standards. There are not many of them, but I gotta have some. All right, Alexandra Poncho 6106. Shout out Mr. Bartlett. Mixindy 7342. Shout out Mr. Smar from Northview High School. Ledning Gate 5767. Can you shout out Miss Gianni from Kemper High? You got it. Dino Carl 1698. Shout out Cheska the Champa Rice Goat. Madeline Healy W9P. We need to John Lock in. Dang straight you do. Dang straight. All right, Law 215. Shout out Mr. Overbeck. I'm still reading from 704, guys. Liuman Tong. Shout out Mr. Quos from RHS. He's one of my favorite bald guys in the world. Well, that's fantastic. Us baldies got to stick together. Alyssa 32911. Shout out to Mrs. Kirkland. Ryan Brenner 8862. Shout out Miss Hewer in Oregon, Wisconsin, please. Srini Keth Yella Pantula. Shout out Mr. Neil from Durham, North Carolina. Michael Friedenbach. Shout out Dr. Phillip. You're an amazing teacher and have made me feel so prepared for the exam. Man, I love hearing that. I love hearing that. And it's in all caps, so you know it's got to be true. Just silly goosey. I love you, Heimler. Shout out Mr. Velasquez from Western. I love you too. Hola X9J. Shout out Mr. K at Osceola Fundamental High School. He's the GOAT. The Stadtländer. Can you shout out Mr. Sella, 7th period? Sophia Bella. Shout out the Uzmamis at Ola or OLLA. Pimpsy. Shout out Mr. Cubits. He's the best. Cherry Bomb. Shout out Miss Kaufman and her 7th period class. Sanhita. Shout out Mr. Peschler. Sanhita and Aishu. West Sides. Shout out period 7 and Mr. Neagley. All right, we're at 7:05 p.m. now, y'all. Mr. Alaham. Shout out Mr. Dimitri at CVHS. Sarah Izzy NYK. Please shout out Miss Lever from Riverhead High School. Buck Shadow. Shout out to Miss Allendorf. No One Cares 9936. Can you shout out Mr. Mahani's 8th period class? Oogie Boogie. Shout out Mrs. House 2A class. Mani. Hi, Mrs. Krug. You're the GOAT. The Dipster 49. Heimler, my GOAT. Shout out Mr. Neil and his class at Research Triangle High School. Also, Tung Sahur to bless us with a 5 on that exam. Tung, you're blessed. Silly Ander. Shout out to Miss Matthew, my GOAT. Harold Lopez, 1632. Heimler, are you in Army? I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know. All right. Let me pause there real quick. I'm going to go grab some more water, and I will come back. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. Let's keep going. Where we go? Okay. Amber. Shout out to Mr. Del Campo. Mr. Del Campo from El Camino High. Little Miss Perfect. Please shout out Miss McDonald. Ethan Piera, 969. Shout out Miss McDonald from Peekskill. Mandy Q1N. Shout out Mrs. Culliver from KW. MTB Golf Guy. Shout out to Mustachioed Miller. Guaca Chad. I'm in Miss Prater's class right now. I love it. Crab Patty 7723. Shout out Miss C from Dobie High School. Ixa Hall. Yo, Heimler, my GOAT. Shout out to Mr. Brown's class at MHS. Indeed. Floatiest goat in town. This is 706. Hey, Uncle Steve. Back from A-Push. Shout out Mr. Sakel. Sakel? Gotcha. All right. Gador Zubiriag. Shout out for Miss Zambrano and the Chomper Ricers of Period 5. Eclipseness. Shout out Miss Humphrey's class in Centerville High. Kite Sue. Shout out Mr. Zenon from Doherty Valley High School. It's Your Worst Nightmare. Shout out to my G, Miss Matthews. Moo 5271. Shout out Miss McNamara's first period class, please. Yoster 1710. Shout out Miss Suarez F period. Cult of the Wicked. Shout out to Mr. Collins. Catherine 8. Hi, can you please say Miss Paget's class is bananas? Yes, I can. Abba Kadabba. Can you please shout out my teacher, Mr. Otto, and say, guys, I'm done. And say, okay, shout out Mr. Otto, and please say, guys, I'm done. Thank you so much, Heimler. I love you, and you saved my world grade. Thanks. I appreciate that. Hope that worked. Rehistory J2K. Shout out Miss Hollis and Logan Nemitz. Quilt 5929. Miss Williams at Tompkins High School is my goat. Wettis 5683. Shout out Mr. Jenks at Northwest Guilford High. Nagi Toko Maeda. Heimler. Hi, Heimler. Could you shout out Miss Ocasio class? Yes, I can. Atta Aaron I5G. Yo, shout out my boy Mark Sheffield at East Lake High. We're still reading at 7:06 p.m. if that's when you were around. Decent 21. That's right. I love you, Heimler. Love you right back. Absolutely. Addison Jones, W6E. Shout out Mr. Ravencraft from Buford High School. Justin Alt 4579. Sadly, my teacher did not teach this course very well. But hey, I self-taught myself with your videos, so shout out to you. I'm getting that 5. That is rough. But well done. Well done. CRISPR. Shout out Mr. Ruiz. Shout out Mr. Ruiz and Spitalery from THHS. Nicholas Koto. Shout out Miss Kenna from Bellin Jesuit. Heimler, you the goat. Stop. You the goat. Anna Sophia Jimenez. Shout out Mr. Miners Second Block. Patagonicus. Please, Heimler, I need this 5. My mama kind of homeless. Also, shout out to Miss Nadaski. You know what? That's funny. I learned so many things about youth culture on these streams, and then I have to ask my kids afterwards what these things actually meant. But I'm kind of proud that I know the reference. My mama's kind of homeless. Speed. I need this, and it's only because I have a young child who keeps me up to date on these things. But anyway, you got it. Sahaz Rao. Shout out Mr. Bates. Shout out Mr. Bates from Lake Norman Charter High School. Dinah Zier. Shout out Miss Hines at Barton Academy IWAP. All right, we're at 7:07 p.m. now. Arbitrary. Shout out Mr. Dane Sandstorm. I love you, Heimler. Love you too. PM 5624. Shout out Mrs. Rame. Mackay 1869. Shout out to Mr. Flores, first period. Please tell him not to give us a final exam. Please, I promise we'll get a 6-7 on DBQ. Love you, Heimler. Hashtag getting a 5. Anika, A5121. Shout out Mr. Macklin from John Jay High School. John Jay High School? I didn't know there was such a thing, but I guess I'm not surprised. I love it. The Dipster 49. Shout out to RTHS. Kale Yonko. Love you, bro. Yegor Ton. Please shout out Mr. Conover and his class. C Pancake Emperor 4. Shout out Mrs. Matthews in Bothell High School, third period. All right, we're at 7:08 p.m. Daniel Alvarez. Shout out Miss Suarez, 7th period. Mr. Suarez, 7th period. Howdy. Arthur Avazov. Shout out Mrs. Bryn Spicer at LMGHS. Shallow 768. Shout out Mr. Slentz, owner of Slentz Subs, capitalism at its finest. Okay, there's a little ad for you. Viv1NM. Shout out the GOAT, Mrs. Ryder, please. LXA Hall. Shout out especially to 8th period MHS Mr. Brown. Well, Willie6455. Shout out Mrs. Tucker's 6th period Salado High School. All right. We still got Champa Rice going on in the chat. I love it. All right. Yeah, let's keep going. We got lots to get through here. All right, Addison Jones. Get this centered. All right, Addison Jones. We're at 7:08 p.m. Shout out Mr. Ravencraft from Buford High School. Ethan E1000. What's up, Heimler? I love you. Love you too. Shout out Mr. Woods, period 1 class from Westview. Also tell him not to lose his sparkle. Oh, Mr. Wood. Do not lose that sparkle. Don't do it. Larlet022. Mr. Reimers, the Fix-It Goat. Daniel Sanchez, B8K. Shout out Miss Ray from North Clayton, or Rhea. Do not do drugs. Shout out Mrs. Baker. You slay so much. Maddie Lines, from the Peanut Gallery to Mr. Freeze in Pennsylvania. On Martin Luther's soul, we are getting a 5. Yeah, you are. Montages, LOL. Shout out Mr. Drawl from Elizabeth High School. Chanley Marks. Shout out Dr. Fitzpatrick from McClay School in Tallahassee, Florida. Yep. Kale US Sis. Shout out Miss English from Benjamin N. Cardozo High School. Noah Goldstein. Shout out Dr. Goldberg. Ace YZ6PL. Shout out Mr. Wojcik, I think. Memento Mori. Shout out the GOAT, Mr. Serpone. We will get 5s. VibeX SSZ. Can you shout out Mr. Meenan from AOHT, please? Sudrian General. Shout out to Miss Tomlinson at PBHS. Judea Telfair. Shout out Mr. Hartzer from Mosley High School. Charlotte R6E9U. Shout out Mr. Ewald. He is the best. I'm at 709 right now. Crowley Burb. Shout out our great teacher, Mr. Baylor, or as he likes to be known as Lord Baylor of Baylorton, for being a great teacher for our class this year. Cassie Har L7F. Shout out to Dr. Hopper and Dan. Joey Tatum 2. Shout out to Miss Alexander's class at Cambridge High School. Kimberly XY. Shout out to Miss King and Mr. Campesano. Jikin Ju. I know I'm saying that wrong, but you know who you are. Shout out to Mr. Crosby 3rd. Ty Bolt. What were your AP World Test scores? Also, shout out to Kai Turner. Well, here's a little tea for you. I never took an AP class in my life. I was a terrible high school student. I was never in an AP class, so I didn't get an AP World score. But it's the irony of ironies. I didn't even start. I didn't enjoy learning until like second half of college, and then it got fun. So yeah, there you go. There's a little tidbit for you. Tanner Hayde. Shout out to Mr. Morse, a fellow bald king. Oh yeah, bald kings. Love it. I'm at 7:11 p.m. now. Drillbur222. Shout out Mr. Bunt, in the MRHS GOAT. Jana2409. Shout out T Berman. FSATMM. Where my Champa Rice gang at? We got any more? We got any more Champa Rice gang left? We dropping some Heimler lore. Indeed. Peanut Peanut 100. Shout out to Mr. Sandoval at Townview Tag. Halo Roland. Shout out to Mr. Burnton, you the goat. Lena Hafez. Shout out Mr. Callis and Mr. Barkley, please. Finn the Duck. Shout out Miss Burge and LWHS. Maddie Lines. To Mr. Mulville in PA. I'm assuming Pennsylvania. Hey, hotshot. We're about to ace this AP Gov exam. That's great. That's great. Peyton Lynch. Genghis Khan versus Grand Canal. Who's winning? I mean, Khan always wins. You know that. Agna2555 for $10. Thank you. Shout out to Miss Rabbi from Peachtree High School. She has helped me so much. I love that. CJ Studios. Ishmael Goons for Life. Shout out Miss Riggio, you the goat. Hafiz S. Shout out my Kawaii teacher, Mr. Noof, formerly from Indy. Steven M. F9R. Shout out Mr. Beecher's 8th period. Beanie Frog 74. Shout out Glenn Curtis Fairchild from Pioneer Valley High School. Can you call him a maggot as he calls his class maggots? Well, that's what's written. That's what's written. You guys work your own inside jokes out. Hey you, yes you. Shout out Mr. Carlisle Penn Trafford High School. Kid Us 1247. Yo, Big Heim. Yo. Shout out to you for keeping my brain cows milked. Also, shout out to Mr. Canuck and Mr. Dewitt's class. 2 goats from Poolsville High School. Go Falcons. All right, I'm reading from 7:13 p.m. Kuhn Han. Please shout out Mrs. Kirkland. I need extra credit. There it is. Mandy 7342. Shout out Mr. Smar and us inventors. Zofia Simpson. Shout out to Miss Sereno. Thank you for spelling that out for me. Miss Sereno. Sophie Camp. Can you shout out Fran Kusik from TMHS and remind him that all of his sophomore AP students know what a stool is? Smiley emoji. KCSEYS. Shout out Mr. Lardner at LaGuardia High School. Agna2555 again, and for $15. Thank you. Bro, Heimler, I love you so much. Please shout out Queen Robbie. I love you. I'll write your name before my test. I love you too. Thank you so much. Lenny BDL. Shout out Mrs. Distacio. PAHS. Romulus 117. Can you shout out Mr. Sasso? Owen Garcon. Miss Sherman, Band 6, Townsend Harris. Hudson Milot. Shout out Leah Peterson and Kathleen Schmidt, 2 AP World Goats from Webster Thomas. All right, we're at 7:15 p.m. now. Joshua Silver. Shout out to the Big Gabe Kendall, Coventry High School. No, 5677. Mr. Trav is the GOAT. Also, we all getting 5s, right? I think so. Izzy Galea. Shout out Mr. Moulin and his quote book. You woo me am real human. Thank you so much, Heimler. You're welcome. You saved me in my AP World test. I'm glad to hear that. Good luck. Zen Oven. Shout out to Miss Pentorno as the toughest teacher at Siwanhaka High School. Caden Thorne. Someone tell Kendall to stop talking in class. Kendall, you heard it here. Mazzy 7616. Shout out Goat Samuel 4B. 4s and 5s for all. Chalk 3624. Shout out Mr. Orego's class, White Plains. Caden Butts. No message, but a donation. Thank you. Soar King. Shout 3265. Shout out Mrs. Flores Ramirez in 9th period. Okay, hold on. Let's start that one all over. Shout out Mrs. Flores Ramirez, 9th period class from Vets. I need this extra credit. Also, Heimler, you're the GOAT. Thank you. AK Hal 22, my favorite badass teacher. Penny Tong. Shout out Lock In Group at OCSA. Nico YF9VS. Shout out Miss Kenna. Appreciate notes with Goat Heimler. Gerbil Bay. Please shout out Thomas Zorik and Ibn Battuta. I didn't mention Ibn Battuta, but I'm glad you brought him up. All right, we're at 7:16 p.m. now. Popcorn Shrimp 24. Shout out Powell Bro. Tell him to stop kicking puppies. Sounds like good advice to me. Lenny BDL. Shout out Mrs. Distasio, PAHS. IDK, what to put here, LMFAO. Shout out to Mr. Anderson from TAEHS. He's the GOAT. Risa Gallier. Can you please shout out Mrs. Carr from Rustburg High School? Peyton Lynch, 1230. Can you just say, my classmate Henry is a bum? Because he is. He needs this rude awakening coming from his idol. I don't know what just happened there. I still love Henry. Zaya's World. Shout out to Miss Reyes and Morgay. We the GOAT. MVBB. Shout out to Nadaski. I think Nadaski. AOTMK11I. Shout out to Mr. Fairchild from PVHS and to his maggots. Oh, we got the maggots again. Please hope Ariana will get a 5 on the AP test. I do. I hope that. STVN STX. Our class watches your videos every day. Well, that's nice. Thank you. Can you give a shout out to Mr. Mattingly for being the best bald AP Gov teacher ever? Hey, Mr. Mattingly. All right, we're at 7:17 p.m. Tardy 1. Shout out to Mrs. Macaloni and Mrs. Lansing. G Hotly Injected. Any advice for the MCQs? Also, thank you for giving me a 5 on AP Gov last year. First of all, you got you a 5. If I helped, I'm glad that I helped. But you're the one who put in the work. Advice for MCQs. I got videos on those. Those are the best advice I can give. I don't have time to go into it now, but I love you still. Thank you. Cy Lixus. Shout out to TJHS and the GOAT, Dr. McCleskey. Sanrioville. Shout out Miss Clark from Brooks College Prep. Class sucks, but she's a great teacher. Jennifer Brady. Shout out to all my AP students at Carl Wunsch. Well, that's nice. It's a teacher. Solomon Shaw. Shout out to Mr. Heron from Jennings County. Coolest clown around. Shout out Mrs. Boda's 8th period class. We love you. Tell that giraffe 19. Miss Anna Adams, Ariana, Trenton, Zaya, Malia. Gina Goldstein, 9848. Shout out to the best AP World teacher, Mrs. Frankie at Torrey Pines High School. Carter Reed, 6206. Shout out Comac and Mrs. Belisari. Myth. Shout out Miss Rung McKenzie and Angelina. Barb00. Shout out our Mr. Vinat. Summer Maddie. Shout out to Mr. Yoder at GWA. It's Izzy for $20. Thank you so much. May Genghis Khan protect us during... May Genghis Khan protect all of us during the Champa Rice party on Thursday. It is going to be a party. And you know the Khan has always got your back. Magan DeBits. Please shout out my GOAT, Mr. J. Willie from Liberty. G. Tusker 4634. Heimler the GOAT. Shout out Mr. Carrera from SHS. Agna 2555. So cute how we all come together, globalization. Yeah, you're right. It X Wavy. Shout out to Mr. Rod at Emerald High School. Best AP World teacher, in all caps, ever. 3 exclamation points. Isabella O'Sullivan. Thank you for the donation. Arg XX. Shout out to my WCH P1 Brain-Based Empire and P7 Filthy Rich Clan. Rapoles 12. Mr. Torresdal is the GOAT of Arizona College Prep. That's for $10. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The Glue Lord, also for $10. Thank you. Shout out our Jinshi goats, Mr. Sanders and Mrs. Dinkins. And there's a little smiley emoji. They must love you. RB Blade 9827. Shout out Dr. Mahan's Block 3 A-Day class. We're at 7:22 p.m. These are submitted at 7:22. Ada 33M. Shout out, it says BR Shahid, but maybe it's Dr. Shahid. You know who you are. Jalen 6693. No message, but thank you. Sophia Rubio. Shout out Mr. Amoroso at South Cobb High School. Lucas Losada 117. Please shout out Miss Espinoza King. Please shout out Miss Espinoza King Heimler. Harry Affle. Shout out Mr. Shateen from Kaz High School. Adonis Alfaro. Please shout out Mr. Ritter. Aria Parajuli. Shout out Mr. O'Donnell and Nepali. PM. Okay. Shout out Mr. O'Donnell and Nepali. PM. Balin Shah. Tate Gerhart. Shout out my boyfriend, Nico Buckbinder. You got it. Flowered Vlogs. Please say Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Layla and Axel. You got it. Fire Sisters, thank you for the help. You're welcome. Mr. Cubits is great. No, Mr. Cubits is the GOAT. Shout out to him. J.K. Rondo, shout out Mr. Lamb and the Lamisphere and STA. ZEHN6IJ, please shout out Mr. Sanchez from RHS King. Valerie Goldpedal for $10. Thank you. Graduating this year, thanks for everything. Heimler shout out for Mr. Sandin and Mr. Snowden. Well, congratulations. Hope all is well for you from here on out. All the best. Van HNGYN05. Hello, my name is Ton. I go to Hargrave Military Academy. I'm taking AP World right now. We would like for you to visit us and give all the classes that takes AP some motivation for our upcoming exam. I would love to. I love coming to places. I don't know that I can before Thursday, but I love you anyway. Thank you so much. Grace Renner. Heimler, you saved me in Gov and World History. I feel ready for both of those exams right now. Well, good. Also, please wish Mr. Chromalix Mods 3-4 class good luck. The Sliced Sock for $10. Shout out Mrs. Petrosky. She's the best history teacher ever. She's always pushed us to do more, which is going to pay off. You're right about that. She really knows what she's doing and made the year great. Thank you, Heimler. I'm so glad to hear that. I love it when I hear that people have great teachers. G Hotly Injected. Again, thank you. $10. Any advice for the MCQs? Thank you for helping me get a 5 on my AP Gov exam. You are my GOAT. Another one on MCQs. MCQs really come down to practice, honestly. Do as many of them as you can. That's the best advice I can give you in a short amount of time. All right, we're reading from 7:25 p.m. Cholito. Howdy, Heimler. Your ultimate review guide is the best. Shout out to the Big Burns, Oscar, Peter, and Naham. Can you say a la Madrid? Much love. Much love to you right back. Maddox Middleton. Please shout out Mrs. Day at Cactus Shadows High School in Arizona. Jalen6693. Shout out Mr. Reimers Shout out Mr. Reimers, the actual goat. Parker Smith, please shout out Miss Dorico / coach. Okay, shout out Mrs. Dorico / coach because she's an awesome AP World teacher and even better Arby's employee. Why do I want Arby's right now? All right, Sebastian Rodriguez. Shout out Miss Coulon from CVLCC. Rainbow Nerd Star for $10. Thank you. Hey, Big Heimler, can you please shout out Mrs. Espinoza from Doral Academy Prep from Bryson Nicole? Okay, hold on. Hey, Big Heimler, can you please shout out Mrs. Espinoza from Doral Academy Prep from Bryson, Nicola, and Eric? Appreciate you guys. Absolutely. Oh, and there is a $100 one. Goodness gracious, you guys are wild. Who is this? EZZ656. Shout out to Supreme Leader Schaefer, the GOAT AP World teacher at ACP High. Hashtag pumpkin bread, those who know. That was very generous, and thank you for honoring me with that, but thank you more for honoring your teacher with that. I don't know what the pumpkin bread is about, but I'm all for pumpkin bread in whatever form it comes, so thank you so much. Wildcat PO1. Mr. Whalen is the GOAT. Champa Ricer. No message. Thank you. Baby Boo. 11. Shout out Mr. Rogers. First year teaching AP World. Hashtag 6th period is better. All right, I'm reading from 7:27 p.m. Grant is cool also. Love you. Love you too. Yes, it is for 7:27. It's Eastern time. All right, Sky High 52. Yo, Heimler, can you shout out Mr. Minnick at Staunton? He's the GOAT like Champa Rice. JFM. Shout out Mrs. Brown, CVHS. Thank you, Heimler. Isabella O'Sullivan. Mr. Herpers, best teacher ever. You're also the best teacher. Thanks for saving me. Thank you. Wish me luck. Period 4, AP World, yay. Luck. Screeze 3, shout out Mrs. Myers, my goat. Moby MD4DP, shout out Miss Hines from Barton Academy. Tamar Shapiro, shout out Mr. Bonnie at Columbia High School. Lewis with a Kirthan PFP. Shout out Mr. Miller, Mustache Green Revolution. All right, we're at 7:28 p.m. now. Steven M. Mr. Beecher's 8th period shout out, please. Andrew Q7L2F. Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter? It's Taylor all day, y'all. Here's some more Heimler lore for you. I'm like 4 months into being a profoundly giddy Swiftie. How come y'all didn't tell me she was so good? I am all in for Taylor. I love her. Oh my gosh. She's so good. Okay. Moving on. we can keep talking about that all night. But we gotta keep moving. See well. Shout out Mr. Bat's G period class. Shout out Mr. Bat's G period class. No IY2VF. The big Mr. Jared Willis from Floyd Central High School. Rowan XOXO. DBQ and LEQ's prediction. I don't have any, but I will tell you, go check out Emily Glankler over at Antisocial Studies. She's pretty good at that stuff, and she's posted some. If I had any predictions, you shouldn't trust them. All I know is it won't be whatever they asked you last year. That's for sure. Adonis Alfaro. Please shout out Mr. Ritter for $10. Thank you. Peppers SDR. Hi, Jose and Abby. Shout out Miss Darold from NPHS. Nathan Ochoa. No comment, but thank you. Taffy 1151. Shout out Mr. Walker's class 4A. Ari IJ1ZS for $10. Thank you. And this is coming from 7:28 p.m. Shout out to Lord Baylor of Baylorton. Oh, we're back to Lord Baylor. My AP World History GOAT, hoping for all of 6th period to get a 5. Me too. I'm hoping right along with you. Sam Poses. Shout out to Mrs. Cordero from Haldane High School. Tutorial how to sit. No comment, but thank you. Eka Ikafdrut. Shout out Mr. Baker. Elisa Timikov. Hi, shout out Miss Jacoby from Block B class. Thank you so much. Chompa Rice Gang forever. You know it. TTV B Webby. Shout out Mrs. Golden from Baker. She is the GOAT. All right, we're at 7:29. Screeze 3. Shout out to Mr. Elliott, my band teacher. I love that guy. Lucas Muzillo 368. Can you shout out my teacher, Mr. Bore? Messy Lover 412. Shout out my mom, Sandra, and Jetty Arma. Well, that's sweet. Elisa Timikov. Hi, shout out Miss Jacoby. Block B class. Thank you so much. Chompa Rice Gang forever. Oh, that's again. Okay. Aaron IP 9834. Tung Sahur. 3 tongues. Never more, never less. Sir Jelly. Shout out Dr. Metals, the GOAT with the tightest pants on earth. Oh, okay. Willow Billow. Shout out Mr. Schuler from Cambridge High School. Are you friends? Yes, I know Mr. Schuler. I believe we've met. Yes. Pez Dispenser 53. Shout out to Mr. Jensen from EC Glass High School. CPT Ruiz. Finished my AP Euro test about 2 hours ago. Thank you. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Hope it went well. Finn Fogs. Yo, shout out Mr. Roach. LaSalle College High. Not G1. Shout out to Salesian College Prep and Mrs. Smith. Van Jin 05. Shout out Mr. Mike Broomwell. No. Shout out Mr. Mike Brumel. Anthony Haddad. Can you shout out Mr. Waller from Mallow Junior High? You got it. Milton Gaming 345. Shout out Adam Sawyer and Mr. Forney. Nolan B1I7G. Yo. Shout out Miss Valieri from Lebanon High School in New Hampshire. Sirish YVL. Shout out Mr. Rod and Sirish. Sure thing. Puzzle Dust. Shout out Mr. Ames from Wake STEM Early College High School. His cat is very cute. Zombie Guts. Can you shout out Mr. Stunkel from EHS? Thank you. You're welcome. Brando00. Shout out Dr. Crespo Abel. TWUU Steerall. Can you shout out, and by the way, we're at 7:30 now. Can you shout out all Garvinists? Mrs. Garvin and her army plan to spread this glorious philosophy. Oh my, love it. Omar has YouTube. Can you mew for Miss Kassar? There it is. Okay, well, yeah, let's just keep going. Crocodile Toes. Shout out to Mr. Young's A period to get a 5 or else. Chompa Ricer. Shout out to Chompa Rice and Miss Carol. Two equally important entities. K-Dib 5. Can you shout out Mrs. Sutton's AP World Class? Avengers 4. Can you say hi, Mr. Papa? Caesar says, you're a little old, but that's okay. You're still a good teacher. Please give him a better grade. Tony Landa Big T. Shout out Mr. Quast DBP from Nate Daniels. We're still at 7:30. NY Aurib. Can you shout out Mrs. Carol from Midwood High School and say that me and Olivia will get 5s? Screeze 3. Mr. Goldberg Mr. Goldberg loves Chompa Rice. Oh golly gee willikers. No comment, thank you, though. Favorable. Say, Miss Duskik Hamza is the best student ever. Samir Patel. Shout out Miss Grishy, RHS. She's the GOAT. Grid Shav. Please shout out to Mr. Prophet from Jesuit. He's tough. Pixel Lives 420. Shout out Mr. Carlisle, esports chief, leader of Carlisle Clan, the GOAT, our AP World teacher from Pearl, Miria, Abby, Haley, and Gia, PTHS. 142. Shout out Mr. Elder from Columbus High, Mitchell. Veros Stories. Heimler, can you shout out Miss Van Den Boch from Davidson High School? You got it. EV9425. 94245. Shout out Mr. Allen and Richard Wenhus. Okay. Sorry. Wildcat PO1. Shout out Mr. Wheeland from St. Stephen's, Florida. And there's a little crying, little wet-eyed emoji. Stinson 0530. Shout out to my dad from former AP World teacher, Mr. Ethier at Oakmont High School. Love that. Love that. Nope. 5586. Mr. Simpson's fourth period class, Northern Guilford High School. All right, we're at 7:31 p.m. now. 7:31. John Schilling. We are students from River Ridge. Shout out to Miss Sand and Daniel. I love Miss Sand. It's his birthday, and he really loves stairs. Can you bark for the ridge? Okay, the second time I've been asked to bark. Is this one of those things that I don't know what it is? Like the 5 big booms. I didn't know what that was last year, and I did it wrong. I love the ridge. I love the ridge. I think I'm gonna have to stick to my morals and not bark for the wide world of the internet. Sophia Bella 13. Shout out to Mr. Uzma from Chichi Madi, Olivia. Oh, okay. Those are names. Shout out to Mr. Uzma from Chichi, Maddie, Olivia, and Issa. Exo Chill Murga. Shout out to Ms. Schneerbusch, Worcester High. Tuck Kurt, 26. Shout out Amanda Valieri and ask for some water. Yoshi G. Homie. No comment, but thank you. Robert Gonzalez. Shout out Zayden Malik. He's going to get a 5. My calves are burning. Shout out to Mr. Quas for being my spirit animal. Raiden Kasham. Can you rub your head and tell Champa Rice to give us hope and inspire us? Oh, Champa Rice. Bestow thine help upon these poor students. And there it is. Viewline Rails. Can you give Miss Augusto a shout out? Vintage Abby. Shout out Miss Meyer from Coral Reef Senior High School. I hope we pass. Period 6. Abby Berger. Twiz Bud. Shout out the best teacher, Mr. O'Neill from SLU High. Violet 24. Yo, can you shout out Mr. Crouton's second hour? All right. Can you shout out Mr. Taylor from Clear Springs? All right, I'm reading from 732 now. Rafe Blocks. Shout out Mr. Gusset, please. He is the greatest teacher. I never read your dono, Depression Mango. Okay. Did I skip over it? I'm sorry. I have to go back and find that. But I can't lose my place here. I'm sorry about that. I will try to find it. Actually, moderators, if you could find that from Depression Mango and let me know if it's in there and put it up here for me. I'd appreciate it. All right. Aurelise. Can you shout out Mr. Shutter? My favorite leprechaun. XNNY X Molds. Shout out Miss Doyle at HFC, best AP World teacher. Jack Rice, D8F. Shout out Mr. Maloney and Mr. Nick. I don't know about that one. I think you're trying to trick me. I think you're trying to trick me to say something bad on the internet. I'm not going to do it. If that's a real teacher, I'm sorry. Can't do it. Okay, Madison 0909. Miss Caitlin, shout out to Miss B's AP World History Lovelies. I'm proud of y'all for being here. Last thing, love you big. Aw, that's sweet. KSKA, I'm reading from 733. KSKA Lai Selvi. Please shout out Miss Van Sciver, the GOAT. I love watching your videos, Heimler. Well, thank you. I love that you watch them. Christy Juliet, can you shout out Mrs. Patterson and Jung Cook? Declan Dran Bauer, shout out Mr. Ferrante. Alan Weiser Water. Yo, Heimler, can you shout out Mr. Jordan and his 8th period class that will annihilate the AP World exam? I like the energy. Daza Ria Robinson. Shout out to Sean's 4th, 5th, and 6th period. Elbowed. Shout out to Mr. Watson. He broke his arm, backpacked through Chile, and still showed up. What a goat. Sounds like a goat. Brooklyn Alexander 1. Shout out to Mr. Henke and Miss EK. We love you. SMH Alyssa. Shout out Mr. Udall from McClure, please. Buddy 130. Daddy Heimler. It's truly an honor to be in your presence. Can you shout out Bro Diddy's epic 4th block and Senor Correcto's amazing 3rd block? I wish I knew everything that was going on there. This sounds fun. King Goose 2nd. Shout out to my king, Mr. Labella. Holly Jeffries, 8020. Please pronounce economy correctly for my class. Economy. There you go. Champa Ricer. Shout out John May from Midwood High School. Alexander Kirkhar. Shout out Mr. Brown and Triple T. I'm reading from 734 now. RJZ. Shout out my guy, Mr. Saloni, and at Zavarian. Vihan S10. Shout out Mrs. Kleinman from Panther Creek. C4R1YC. Mr. G for being a D1 hater on Carly and Emma's Champa Flow. Champa Flow. I like it. Peyton Lynch. Can you please sing us a bit of Working for the Weekend? Miss LeBron would love it. With this throat I've got going right now. Everybody's... I can't. Miss LeBron, I love you. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. I love you so much. Luca Fragasso. Shout out Mr. Long from Boston Latin. Willow 804. Mr. Heimler, please bless Marina Longoria's class for AP World Test. Hey, you're blessed. Megan Brown 3726. Shout out my AP World History lovelies at Canyon View in Arizona. Liba F4N. My name is Liba Meskini. Can you please do the famous meme Fa? And also say that Liba is the coolest person ever and he does not have a perm. So much is happening. Fa! I don't think I improved on it. I think I did it worse. Creative Way PO7UM. Shout out Mr. Larkin from Upper Marion High School. Balloon Rock. Shout out to Jay Denny, otherwise known as Mr. Dennis. Super Kid. Shout out Miss Webb, Mr. Long, and all AP BLS teachers. Nico YF9VS. W. Heimler for stream. However, you look like Javi. Okay. Must be a handsome person. All right, Blake Schuler. Shout out Mr. Willis, 5th period. Funky Noah Helder. Emil, 7 p.m. Do you know a Bobby Cucinella? He's our AP World teacher, and he says he knows you. Yes. I think that name sounds familiar. Where did I meet him? It's a jog my memory, but yeah, I think we have met. Farhan Sayan. Heimler, please shout out Mr. Veras, please. You're the GOAT. All right, we are now at 7:36 p.m. Eastern Time. Riley Schuerman. Mr. McGinnis at BCHS. DASDSA. Everyone watching in Bonita High School say, Bonita. CJT428 for $10. Thank you. Shout out Mr. Duclos from Bishop Kenny High. Marcy Hines 2669. Barton Explorers, go get those fives. Mrs. Hines. Elijah Stone. Shout out Mr. Horman's class at River City High School. He is the GOAT. Raven up 5 UP5TL. Please shout out Mr. Freund. Our AP World teacher, thank you. In Heimler, we trust. Patrax 6, shout out Mr. Keen's third period from Patrick. Trenton, Gavin, Akram, and Nick. Banjo Bears, hello from WRHS. Yes, we are all getting fives. All right. Gerbil Bay, where's Ibn Battuta? Was that about the time where I skipped Ibn Battuta? 7:37? Boredom Penguin. Thank you, Miss Brandlin. Period 2 ESHS. Purple Crab 11. Shout out to Miss Charina and her sixth period. Ray Patton 07. Shout out Mrs. Kraft, Rockwall Heath High School. Mad Mango T8D. Shout out Miss Valieri at Lebanon High School. Lots of love for Miss Valieri. Love it. Gabe the Frog. Can you please shout out Mr. Tomazuski from North Hills and his seventh period class? I'm Ellie. Can shout out Mrs. Carswell and Mrs. Stanley at KHS. All right, reading from 7:38 p.m. Madison 0909. Shout out my absolute GOAT supreme leader Barnett. The Barnett Empire will be getting straight fives with very much love, Madison and Charlie. Keepers Jeepers. Shout out Mr. Fleming from CBHS. We'll carry this for sure. Astro Ninja YT. Shout out Mr. Francis class in Bonnabelle High School, please. Rune, L-Rune, or I-Rune 13. The number is 13. I couldn't form that word. Shout out Mrs. Whipple, first period, from Alex D. Maggie G2 I6S. Shout out Mr. Brown and Jonah Colton, the two AP World GOATs. And for $10, thank you so much. SMH Alyssa. Shout out Mr. Udall from McClure High School, please. We love champa rice. Well, that's good. It's lovely. T0G4F. Shout out Mrs. Sanders and her third and fourth periods. You got it. And again, for $10. Thank you. Rag Have Sharma. Shout out Mr. Rojas from American High School, the absolute GOAT teacher of AP Gov Econ. We love you. All right. Well, still reading from 738. Klopza. Shout out Telmoon and Atif from CVHS. Lenny Boy 1723 for $10. Shout out Mrs. Butner. Cardinal Gibbons High School in North Carolina. Thank you, Heimler. You're welcome. You have helped me so much this year. I will be joining you again next year for A-Push. Have a great evening. Well, thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Glad we could do it together. Peyton Lynch, 1230. Please help me convince my girlfriend Cameron to go get ice cream with me after the exam. I mean, what's to convince? It's ice cream. That should definitely happen. 7:39. The time is 7:39. Boredom Penguin. Maxwell, my GOAT TA. Robert. Harper 210. Please shout out Mr. McCulloch from NHS in New York. Please also shout holla. It's a joke of his. J Heel 20. Shout out Mr. Johanan. SMH Alyssa. Can you say Alyssa, Darvin, and Rixley will get a 5 on their AP World exam? Yeah, they will. Kevin Choi H5L. Can you shout out Mr. Mossbarger? Trying 664 plays. Shout out for Mrs. Stork's first period. Ski Master 26 vids. Shout out to Miss Pina. And thank you for everything, Heimler. Your videos are the only reason I will pass this exam. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you. All right, we're at 740. Your lovely savvy. Shout out Mr. Jonathan Blader. UICCP from Chi. Emery Robichaux. Shout out Bailey's Bliss. Shout out Bailey Bliss from Cape Central High School. Potato FN. Shout out to Mrs. Finley, 2B class. Hi, Kuvar Siwad. LM Electric, or I'm Electric. Thank you so much for everything. You are low-key genuinely saving my grade. Well, thank you. I'm glad. Love from Hargrave Military Academy, Mr. Brumel's class. Excuse me. And love right back to you. Thank you. Emma Angelelli. Angelelli. Shout out to Mr. Graziano and Mr. Knox from CNG. Astro Ninja. Champa Rice. Yes, indeed. Cohen Dennis. Shout out to Miss Lippard's class in North Carolina. Cohen Bryce and Luke are goated. 741 now. Weeple. Shout out Miss Zimmerman. I will bring pizza the last day. Coconut Man. Shout out Mr. Long from BLS. Thanks for the pizza. Got 2 pizzas in a row there. Why do I want pizza right now? Tao Noodles. Shout out Mr. Rapart from Memorial. Fire. Lucas Yates. Shout out Connor Boré. And tell Kindle to stop talking. Wasn't there another one about Kindle talking? Poor Kindle. Seb Gaming. Shout out to the GOAT AP Gov teacher, Miss Sarah Weber from Cave Spring High School in Roanoke, Virginia. 5s all around. All right. Red Riley. Shout out to second period, Mr. K. 1212. Please tell my friend Amit Vempati not to cheat. Sounds like good advice. Emily Sierzega, for $5. No comment, but thank you. Jane Volleyball. Shout out Mr. Chavez, please. Astro Ninja. Can you say hi, Mr. France? Hi, Mr. France. Hannah Fade. Can you shout out Mrs. Coffee at Allen High School? And shout out students Hannah, Zayn, Cam, and Renata. Riley Schuerman. Shout out Tatiana, Mackenzie, Monica, Riley. Thank you, King. You're welcome. Official Star Girl. Daddy Heimler, I love you so much. Marry me. Storks. Fave students, Melody, Grayson, and Hannah. I love you, but taken. Nate Sow. Shout out Mrs. Whitmer from Archer High. Stephen MF9R. Please shout out Mr. Beecher's 8th period. Jaguar Prod 56. Can you say, Alan, come help me, please? Oh, sorry. Alan, come help me. That's the whole quote. Boneless. Shout out to Miss Otto from Light Ridge High School. Go Bolts. Toonie Tunes Edits. Shout out my YouTube channel, Toonie Tunes Edits, please. Go check it out. Christian George G4S. Shout out Mr. Brudick, 8th period, and Arsa. Whaley 1686. Shout out Mr. Martin from Ezra, Luca, Ari, and Elias for being the best AP World teacher. All right, we're at 7:45 p.m. now. Cheesy Puffs 93. Please evaluate the extent to which Mrs. Slaughter at Parkland High School prepared us for the AP exam. I would say to a large extent. Warsaw X30. $5 to buy champa rice if you shout out Mr. C's second hour. That's a good use of $5 right there. Bubba Sweens. King, please shout out the two goats and divas, Mrs. Schmidt and Mrs. Peterson. They have helped us so freaking much. From Bubba Sweens and the gang. Peraz. Shout out Mr. Hallberg from Franklin High School. Madison Matthias. Shout out Mr. Whelan's 7th period class, please. Sunshin Rem. Shout out to Mrs. Shockley. We love you. Your faves. IDK with friends. Shout out Miss Friedman, period 4. You already know Mir. Shout out Mrs. Charina from Buchholz. We love you. Local Pizza 3266. Can you shout out Mrs. Teichmiller, the Big T. I'm reading from 746 now. 746. Your friend Emmy. Shout out to Miss Gibson from Syracuse High. No 5677. Shout out Mr. Trav from LRHS, please. Jai 8068. Shout out Mrs. Muzzini and her first period. Farhan Sayan, S3, what is it? ST3ZC. Shout out Veras, please. Shout out Veras, please. She helped me much. Jackson 9200. Shout out Big Mike McCarthy from St. Joseph High, from JLP Media and Blah Ram. Kieran Ketchy. Shout out Mr. Wilcox for getting us through this. Ali Bali I4M. Thank you so much. You are the AP God. Well, thank you. Carolina 6155. Shout out Mrs. Iezi. 3rd period gets all 5s. Duh. Sunflowers ICA. Heimler, you are the king. Thank you. Can you say Stan Luna? Yes, I can. Totally not Nat. Shout out Mr. Williams, period 5. Saren George. Shout out Miss Luke. She's the absolute best. Screeze 3. Shout out to my Dean, Catherine Pattian, my goat. Garn 47. Please shout out Mr. Don Curra. He's your bald and your op. I don't want no drama, okay? I don't. But thank you. All right, I'm reading from 747 now. Holy moly. Should would you howdy like he could do quo is the name. Can you look in the camera and say Noah Elsh will get a 5? No, not Noah. Nora Elsh will get a 5. The podcast guy, Mr. Duclos F Mod carries. We love you, bestie. Zion Florencio. Shoutouts, Dr. Garcia. All right, let's keep on going. Regan Tedderton. Hi, shout out Mrs. Hannigan in Shiloh, River Ridge. Love it. August Pies, 4th period, Mr. Hinchcliffe at AHS. Mackay, love you, Heimler. Love you too. Shout out Mr. Flores, 1st period. Iron Striker 37 for $10. Thank you. My class was kind of rough this year, but I thank you for carrying me through this. Sorry to hear it, but glad I could help. Remu 12. Shout out to Miss Hodges from Hethel High School. Kendrick Mark. Shout out Mr. Lapari from Calhoun. Kelly 5334. Shout out Miss Days 6th period from Cactus Shadows. She is the goat. Yay. JT Gibson. Can you shout out Mr. Easley's 8th period? Thank you, Heimler Chan. Drifty. Shout out Miss Levitt's 1st semester, 1st period. Evan Gunther. Shout out to Miss Bowman at Westerville South High. Maddie IEIE. Shout out to Mr. Dry. Our OG teacher was arrested. Okay. There's a story. Queen T. Shout out to the best AP World teacher, Miss Dr. Doogie. I'm broke, so please make my money worth it. Indeed. All right. Anya Noop. Say good luck to Research Triangle High School, please. Good luck, Research Triangle High School. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We got quite a few more. How we feeling? How we feeling? All right. Matt, did you get the Depression Mango shout out? Don't want to miss that one. Looks like either I skipped over it or I didn't get it. Depression Mango. All right. Hey, and if you're in the Eastern time zone like I am, it's 10 o'clock almost. Y'all gotta get some sleep. I'm just glad it's not the night before the exam. That would be the worst. All right, let me just get one of these. Oh, hold on just one sec. All right, let's go. Let's keep going. All right. Maddie Flower Power. Mr. Huser from Sacred Heart Academy. Love you, Heimler. Simp Fornishi. Shout out Mr. Coaster. Second block. Your Average Tyler. Shout out Mr. McCarthy for the W teaching. Love it. Vero's Stories. Shout out Miss Vandenbosch from Davidson High. Peyton Lynch, 1230. Can you tell Brooks Freeman that he is a bum? I did. I don't know if I mean it in here, though. Yabber Jarkle. Shout out Mr. Ebert's Period 5 from Abby. All right, I'm reading from 749 now. Maddie Healy. Please shout out Mrs. Lindholm for teaching us how to fish and never giving out poison fishes. Maddie, Mariella, and Violet. Toes Sparkle Glitter. Could you write about Mongolian throat singing as a continuity? I don't, depends on continuity with what, but it is magnificent to listen to. Gianni Townsend. We love moms and Mr. Zeff. Alice 1761. Shout out Mr. Rousseau, the goat from Whitehall. Hugh Carolon. Mr. Cade Nethercott. That is, we're at 7:50 p.m. now. Dr. X DDR. Shout out Mr. Scornovaco. First period. Mackenzie Taylor. Shout out Mr. Mitchell. Harlem West Middle School. Cam loves pie. Shout out Mr. Baker's second period class. Shout out Mrs. Shout out Mrs. Baker's second period class. Shout out Mrs. Baker. And shout out Justin Drew Bieber's AB plus blood type. Memphis is a peak song. Drifty 5166. Shout out Miss Levitt from McFatter. That Mr. Goose Guy. Shout out Miss Shore from LHS. Shout out to Samuel Garcia. Shout out to Mr. Woods class. Thanks for the review. You're welcome. X Starks X. No comment, but a donation. Thank you. All right. Creative Chicken 01 for $10. Thank you. Shout out Miss Friedman at McCallum High School for being an awesome teacher. Dr. Cosmo. Shout out Mr. Hermanson from Appleton North's third hour. We was celebrating with soda and pumpkin pie on Thursday. Sounds good. Tin Pretk. Shout out Mrs. O'Brien and Miss Anderson. Real Alfie, what is your best advice for me if I'm a little afraid of possibly not knowing how to answer the DBQ prompt because it's on a topic that I don't remember? On the DBQ, that's much easier because they give you documents. On the LEQ, it's a real problem because they don't give you anything. My advice is always just start writing. Doesn't matter what, just start writing, because in the writing, hopefully something will get jogged. Caden, T5J, shout out to Mr. Bements, aka Mr. Beast's 6th period class. Rose X Katie, what is the bare minimum per section you need for a 5? It changes every year as they do their statistical adjustments. So, on the multiple choice, it's something like, 75% ish around there, but it depends on the year. Your girl the point is you don't have to get perfect. Your girl so for $10. Thank you. Hi Heimler. Could you shout out Mr. Blader's class and wish all AP World students at UIC College Prep good luck, and love you. I love you too. Thank you. That's from 751 or 751. Sandra Olart Hayes. It's Izzy. Can we shout out Mr. Headland's 4th period? You got it. Vla la 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 for $10. Hi Heimler. Last year, your shout out got my whole class 5s. So thank you so much. You're the best. I didn't know I had that kind of power, but I'm glad to hear it. Shout out to Mr. Height and the goats of his classes, queens who are all getting 5s. 1, 2, 3, happy birthday. Shout out Mrs. Benga and Mr. Quigley. Jonah 1012, shout out Mr. Brown at American Heritage and Maggie Richardson, the 3rd period goat. Bree Shavreen, can you say Bree and Alex are getting 5s on the test? Yeah, because they are. Hannah Olaway, shout out to my G, Mrs. Matthews from Quaker High School, from the 2 people who never do their question of the day. All right, from 753. Rashik 1489. Shout out to my king, Kevin SMK, and Coach and Couch Beeson. And by the way, if you're still here, you're waiting for yours to be read, and I'm at 753 right now. This recording will go up, so I will have it up, and then, if you got to go do something else, you can go find it tomorrow or whatever, but I will go through all of them, but it's taking some time. Ali Bali, Empire joke. Oh, you reminded me for the Empire joke. What a joke. All right. Another one from the very long name, the Shwish Jewish Hawaii. Zaddy Heimler, we love you so much. From Mr. Spradlin's class, Nora L. Shinawi. And thank you for saving me during all-nighters. Well, thank you for allowing me to be part of it. Icy Derpo. Shout out to Miss Amin from UNHS. Emma Denecki. Please shout out the Big Rep, the Big Z, and Obtuse at Memorial. And please tell Mr. Rapart to drop both me and Zoe zeros for our daily grade. SMH Alyssa, do you like soccer? My friend Darvin loves soccer. Yeah, I do. Bintaba 67. Shout out the GOAT, Mr. Mitchell from Success Academy, Harlem West. Binta and Monty. Yuki's biggest fan. Can you please shout out Mr. Vergara and Brooklyn Tech? Please, Heimler, you're my GOAT. I love you. You're so amazing. Konnichiwa, Heimler-chan. Anna Sophia Jimenez. Can you give a shout out to Mr. Miner's second block? All right, we're at 7:55 now. Heimler, you're a huge help to Mr. Miller's class. We couldn't get through the year without you. Can you shout out Mr. Miller Miraculous? Mr. Miller / Miraculous, please. Sophia Romero. No comment, but a donation. Thank you. Omar has YouTube. Mr. Heimler, do you think that ReZero is peak? And my dear moderators have put a note next to this telling me that it's an anime, because I would not have known that. But yeah, sure, yeah, it's absolutely peak. Emerald Society, shout out to Mrs. G Geometry, top 5 teachers of all time. Lamed 123, shout out Mr. Mitchell, the GOAT from Harlem West for helping me with my AP as an 8th grader from Justin. Ooh, nice work. DRX DD RIP. Shout out Mr. Scorno's first period class MCHS. Avery Boland. Shout out Colonel Brumfield from the Dominican, please. Addison Jones. Shout out to Mr. Ravencraft at Buford High School. Coca Real. Shout out Mr. Vic in Churchill. The best, for real, for real. Shout out the GOAT, Mr. Moulaine from BHS. We are all getting 5s. Trust. Triple T for $10. Thank you. Shout out Mrs. Stork. She might get carried away with China, but at least I'll never forget China and always love getting my brain cow milked. Oh, that's great. Oh, what a comment. I love that. Intraxer. Challenge. Straight face request 10 to 20 seconds to make our unit test after AP exam optional for us in Mr. Parolin's class BHS. He's the best. I can't tell if you're asking me to do something there, but maybe it'd be great to be optional. I don't know. How you guys work it out. Kilkey. King Heimler, please shout out my GOAT, Maguru Bachira, because we're all locking in for this exam. Arush Bansal. Shout out Mr. Burdick, Arush, Christian, and GPT. Beanie Hyde. Can you give a shout out to Mrs. Weisenberg from NVOT High School for being the best AP World teacher ever? Zeta Arocha 6849. Could you please shout out, this is from 8 o'clock. We're at 8 o'clock now, guys. Okay? All right, Zeta. Could you please shout out Mr. Ellertson from Heritage High School? He's such a great AP World teacher, and he's retiring this year. Oh, well, congratulations, and good luck in your retirement. Perez 217. Heimler, shout out Miss Peggy from Seminole for being the undefeated queen of world history. SL1 Med. Shout out Mr. Mitchell from Success Academy, Harlem West. Muhammad. Sean Perkins, 4890. Shout out Success Academy, Harlem West, and Sean. Mar Kator. Shout out Mr. Segovia. Ann Lee. Shout out Mr. McCann from Rockwall Heath. This is from 8:02 p.m. G8068. Hi Gita, Candace, Jadzia, etc. Teddy Cummings. Shout out Mr. Boney from CHS, smartest teacher ever and most knowledgeable person I know. Amazing. Sal Good. Hello, Heimler. My name is John. Can you please shout out Mr. Precourt, my AP World teacher? And don't forget the Empire joke. Thank you. It was definitely not worth forgetting. Or definitely worth not forgetting. Queen T. Shout out to the best teacher, Mr. Doogie. We love you, King. Sophia Romero. Mrs. Jones. 5th period from BMC. Best teacher. Not G1G1. Please shout out Salesian and Mrs. Smith and ask her to give us extra credit. Hashtag Yaya Ray. Mia Kate J8F. Please shout out Miss Kemper and Palmer Trinity High School. Sanguine Plum for $10. Thank you. Shout out Mrs. Polasic at Townview. And there's a kind of a little weepy emoji and a Swiss flag. And this is from Jime and Ale. Tell Miss P to get us Red Bulls. You got it. Rena Kitty. Mr. Heimler, please shout out Mrs. Davina and the Young Turks. Arena, Sadie, Delaney, Sarah, Ellis, Jane. We love you, metric buttloads amount. Oh, that's great. Valiant Shorts. Shout out Mrs. Turner at Gainesville. She the GOAT. Baseball Bros, 987. Mr. Van Wee and Jonah Orenstein from Hewlett High. Carolina 6155. Shout out Mrs. Easy's 3rd period, all 5s. Speak up right now. Please say Mrs. Leach. Please say Miss Leach's Shay Mia, Riley, and Noah get 5s. Reading from 803 right now. 803. Jai 8068. The Game. Astra Race 5. Shout out to Jared Davis. Darius Deuce AC. Excuse me. Shout out to AP historian Corey Kidder. G47 Azulu. Please shout out Please shout out Jean's third hour class. Or Jeannie. Jessica Bloxham with a donation. Thank you. Andre Sant. Shout out to Mr. Green. We love you, Heimler. Love you too. Thank you for everything you do. You're welcome. Thank you. Moy Boy God's Bro. Shout out Rohan Gosh Top 10 RPG. Shout out to Arkish Man Day Top 30 Scientist. Okay. I don't know that one. Esta Bonjay. Shout out to my glorious King, Mr. Mitchell. Ophelia 9. Empire Joke. Thank you for reminding me. Afak Farouk with a donation. Thank you. Melanie Mart. Don't be a bot. It's a quote from Mr. Stewart from LACS. Lydia Farnow. Okay, now shout out Miss Headland's third period. David TE2LR. Shout out to Miss Ferdman of Stuyvesant. You guys, is it Stuyvesant? You guys super chatted last year and even told me how to pronounce it, and now I can't remember. It's like Dutch, right? I can't remember. Stuyvesant High School. Anybody know how to say that? And that's still here in the chat. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. I love you guys. Teresa Cha. Shout out to Mr. Wainshall at Santa Margarita Catholic Goated AP World Teacher Period 1. All right. FSATMM. Shout out Mr. Jones at HCS. He's the GOAT all the time, and he's a big fan of yours. Well, I'm a big fan of his. Thank you for that $10 super chat. Very generous. Yes, I'm already, if you're just showing up, I'm just reading super chats for a long time right now. I already did the review. You just crank this thing right back to the beginning if you want the review. But thanks for coming. Okay. Tom09054. Shout out to Eli from Miss Bolivar's class. Diana777. Shout out to Mrs. Hamlin from OHS. She is great. VVS Bria. Shout out Mr. Sanchez, my AP World Teacher from RHS. The AP Goat 505 for $10. Thank you. Shout out to Miss Wyatt, 5th period at Langham Creek. Myrna's going to get a 5 also. You know it. EE2829. Can you shout out my 5th period and Mr. Newberry? Gator Chungus. Can you shout out Goat Schuler? Ding Xian Xian. Xian Xian. Ding Xian Xian. Okay, I need to move on. Shout out Mr. Shapiro. Miss Pepe from WHS. Be wiser. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Be wiser. This is from 806, by the way. Shout out Miss Zaradnik and East Meadow High. Scuba. Miles Bruv. Can you shout out all the glorious King, Mr. Kale? Shout out the all glorious King, Mr. Kale. Ming Zelly, UK2M, etc. Shout out my goat, Mr. Bromell. JLZ727. Shout out Mr. Chitlin Miller from Yes Prep and YES Prep in NC in North Carolina. The Big H #1 fan. Shout out to the Evil B, Miss Breeden, and first period, the big GPT giving us all 5s on this exam. Goodness gracious. Navi was here. Shout out to Mr. Sanders. No, shout out to Mrs. Sanders, 3B class. Please, she's awesome. Love it. Lisa D 4996. Can you shout out Mr. Eisenberg? Christopher Gomez 1738. Can you shout out Mr. Roberts from SCS 5th period? Yekaterina Livsina. Shout out Miss Waldman from OBHS. Hi, Nick is cool. I'm at 807, by the way. Nick is cool. Hi. Hi, Heimler. My goat. Can you shout out Mr. Flory's fourth and 5th period class? Also, can you say, "Oh, Captain, my Captain, Mr. Flory"? Oh, Captain, my Captain, Mr. Flory. Shout out, John. I love you, Heimler. B Money, B Monji. Can you shout out my goat, Char McLean? Harold Lopez, 1632. Please bark for us. Okay, what is the barking? I guess it's a thing. I'm gonna have to go ask my kids because they'll tell me what it is. And I'm standing by my commitment not to bark. Bark first in the name of AP World and from McKinley Classical Leadership Academy. I love you guys. Mango Fabrice. Shout out to Mr. Labella from the Goons. Lewis with a Kirthan PFP. Joey and Lila. Shout out Nice High School. Bongo Berry. Shout out to Mr. Kratz, my fave teacher. Zain El Hawari. Shout out Brother Shahid, Chuckleheads, DBQ. Karami 7623. Shout out Mr. Dry, Ulama, Champa Rice, and Jay Smith. Vixel, livestream save me, CS Velasquez high key throwing. Prayer hands. Valiant Shorts. Shout out Mrs. Turner from Gainesville, the goat. S Bidjigavisi. No comment. But thank you for the donation. Oh, this is what. After a while, I just start cracking myself up. All right, we're at 809. Man, turn that into a meme. I'd love to see that. All right, Mia Lope. Shout out Mr. Ramirez, 1st period class from MHHS. B Beauties. Shout out Miss Laughin from 3rd period. Love her. Abba Kadabba. Shout out Kellen Lane and Mikey Zick. Lydia Horton. Shout out Mr. Dahman from Jack Britt High School. Riley Patton. Shout out Mrs. Hackworth from South Fayette. And thanks for milking our brain cows. You're welcome. Not Marker. Shout out the R6 Bandits. We will all get 5s. Boom. Harold Lopez, 1632. Can you shout out Leon Kennedy? He likes bingo. Emma Ponder, 1116. Shout out my goats, Lamine, Yamal, and Furman Lopez. Caleb P3131 for $10. Thank you. King Heimler, can you shout out the GOAT AP teacher, Miss Peltier at Cornerstone Christian School? She teaches all AP history classes at our school and is quite the legend. That's amazing. And for $10, thank you so much. And I'm reading now from 8:12 p.m. It cut off at 8:30, so I think we're zeroing in on the end here. Caleb, oh no, we already did that one. Kira Green Wilson. Shout out to Mr. Von Bergen, class, Newfield, period 8. Lisa D, 4996. Please shout out Mr. Eisenberg from James Logan. Evelyn MM6. Shout out Mr. Brown, period 3, because he's the king, and Maggie and Jonah for being the cream of the crop. Cohen Dennis. My teacher thinks the Star Wars prequels are overrated. I disagree. I think they are the best by far. What do you think? Overrated compared to what? The original? Nothing beats the original. Overrated compared to the newest trilogy? No, much better, I would say. The Rusty Trombone. Shout out Mrs. Carr's Monday, Wednesday class. Roger Matthew Dome. Shout out Mr. Lapp of Poe High. W. Lapp with a heart. Peyton Lynch. You think Genghis Khan could handle half a pound of roast beef and cheddar Arby's sandwich? Or would that expedite the fall of the Mongols? That would expedite the fall of anybody. The con not included. I mean, the con very much included. Centipede Ranger. Shout out to Miss Duff's goated class. Ezak 5510. Please shout out Mr. Kleb and Hassett. Thank you. Lydia Horton. Shout out my goat, Mr. Daman. Let's get fives. JBHS. All right, we're reading from 817. Goose 5777. Yo. I think it's yo. Shout out Miss Ramnath, period 7 and 10 from Brooklyn Technical High School. Clever was here with a donation. Thank you. User 128 typo. Please shout out Mrs. T's 4th period at XCP. Riley Brandon. Please shout out Miss Norris and her 7th period. Jack the Snack That Smiles Back. Can you please tell Leon S. Kennedy to please study? Every time I tell him, he just says no, thanks. He just says no, thanks, bro, and backflips away. Sounds like he's got everything figured out. Abby 9. Shout out to Mr. Franta at Centennial. Michael F3748 for $20. Goodness gracious, thank you. Please shout out Miss Scalise, period 369 AP World, and please shout out April 2nd. You know I love April 2nd. There you go. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. I'm Electric. Forget mercantilism. Free market capitalism. Malika. Shout out Mr. Whelan from St. Stephen's Episcopal School in Florida. Willem A. for $10. Thank you. Shout out Mrs. Peterson and Mrs. Schmidt. Me HH9S also for $10. Shout out to Mr. O'Neill, T. O'Neill, T1L, I think. I don't know. But thank you. Very, very kind of you. Neiman 610. Can you give a shout out to Mrs. Garvin and 3rd period? Hank. Shout out to Mr. Hickey, the goat. Joba 9958. Shout out Triple T Finney, Grace, Carissa, and Jonah. T Tribe 1916. Shout out Hackney. Say happy birthday, Jafar Fawaz. Ryan Luke. Ryan L. Bush and his sacred yam will get everyone a 5. I hope so. Corn on the Cob dropping $50 on your boy. Thank you. What a gift. Thank you. I love corn on the cob. Anyways, can you please shout out Mrs. Jordan's 1st period class? Thank you. Hey, Miss Jordan's 1st period class. Good to see you. And I'm with you. Corn on the cob. Jai 8068. Shadow the Hedgehog. Yeah. Carl Emerald. Shout out Mrs. Shank from DHS 3rd period from Adrian. J.K. Rondo, shout out to Lando, Norris, and Oscar Piastri. The best, for real, birthday shout out to Leah P. She the real goat. Happy birthday. Reddy Sri Khan. Shout out to Mr. Price, a.k.a. Chomper Rice, and AP World History 4th period, Samhita. Armin here. No message, but a donation. Thank you. Dylan Waddle. Happy early birthday, my goat. Oh, thank you. 251 Loser for $10. Thank you. Can you please say Spanish? Okay. Spanish Ford High. You. Oh, Okay. Here it is. Here it comes. Spanish Fort High. Are you ready for Unit 5? There it is. P.S. We've been ready for our brain cows to be milked. So I hope you got what you came for. Official player is easily the goat. This is Manas. Gerbil Bay. Everyone say we love you, Matt. Jana 2409. Shout out 4th period T Berman and AC and Hayes. Frosty 1 for $20. You guys are going crazy tonight. Thank you. Shout out Mr. Fern and Mr. Rocha for being the best AP World teachers, and congrats to getting married, Mr. Fern. Congrats indeed. It's a big deal. Happy for you. Horse Princess 259. By the way, I'm reading from 826 now. Horse Princess 259, shout out Mrs. Harlan. Reason I have an A. LR Dunn. Hey, Matt. The Hennessy Figueroa. Manifesting fives for all of us. Shout out to Sega High School. SEGA High School. Reading from A27 now. Airy 916. Shout out Mrs. Pantorno. We, period 5, are her favorite class. Michael Friedenbach. Shout out Miss Phillips 2B class. We are getting fives. Cougar HM5NF. Shout out Miss Piotrowski. Second period class. Your girl so for $20. Shout out to Mr. Blader's class. Could you also wish AP World students at UIC College Prep good luck with the AP exam? Love your videos and thank you. Hey, all you UIC College Prep, good luck. I'm rooting for you. Sanguine Plum. Shout out to Mrs. Palasic at Townview. Jimena and Ale. Tell Miss P to get us Red Bulls. Oh, again. All right. Bendy Master 67 for $20. Shout out Mr. Morse from Corning and his favorite students, Liam, Matthew, and Bradley. They sound like they should be favorite students. I'll just say that on the record. I agree. All right, Fish and Steel. Please shout out Mrs. Gunderson. She is the goated teacher. Echo Stam 22. Shout out Miss Postler and Mr. Saloni from Xaverian High School. The Glue Lord. What's your favorite Star Wars trilogy or movie? Original trilogy, all day. Empire Strikes Back is hard to beat. That's my take. Sam Am I Sam? Shout out Mr. Lenhard, Putnam Valley, New York. The Big H, #1 fan. On Tung Tung, Arby's Chitlins is goated. Teresa Cha. Shout out to Wainshel the Goat, period 1. Mia Lope. Shout out Mr. Ramirez's first period class, the Goat from Missions. Hold on, I just popped something up. Shout out Mr. Ramirez's first period class, the Goat from Mission Hills High School. We love you, Heimler. J Furno 723. Shout out to Mr. McCarthy, the best AP World teacher. Ramana Rajkumarye. Shout out Mr. Henriquez from Bartow, IB, Goat. Crow Lee Burb. Shout out to Joey for helping us in period 6 of Lord Baylor's class, remembering how foot binding showed the influence of the Chinese patriarchy. Yes, shout out to Joey indeed for that. It's Izzy. Shout out to the Goat, Miss Knight, period 4. Armin Hair. Shout out Miss Van Skyver and Prad because he needs help. The Hennessy Figueroa. Fives for all of us. Shout out to Sega High School. SEGA High School. I don't know if it's Sega or whatever. We love Miss Jordan. Woo. Vero's Stories. Shout out to Miss Vandenbosch at Davidson High School. Local Pizza 3266. Shout out Miss Tyke Miller, the Big T, TBT, again, specifically from 5th period because we're the favorite class. Starting some drama. And, here we are, the very final chat of the evening. Crystal JVV09. Mr. Flores, the GOAT teacher for AP World. And that's it. Okay, you guys who are still around, surely you didn't sit through all that. Surely. Matt, did we ever find the mango, the depressed mango comment? I didn't see that one. Depressed mango, if you're still here, and it hasn't processed yet. Okay, I see you. Okay, see you tomorrow night. Yeah, sorry about that. Still love you. But yeah, I'm glad to have you guys here. Glad we could do this together. But y'all are, still around. You one of the real ones, right? You know that. I've been here since 7:30. Goodness gracious. Hey, may the 4th be with you too. Well, I say we all go to bed, especially if I'm going to go to bed here on the East Coast, so I can get some nice sleep and come back here ready tomorrow to do the whole thing over again, see all your lovely faces and all your lovely chats. So thank you guys. So glad to be here with you. And I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, new units. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night.